I don't want a husband who only earns $900 a month, I said. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Maybe my mother-in-law was shocked. Hello? Are you still there? The mother of a man who makes $900 a month? What are you talking about? She finally asked. I'm saying Aaron earns $900 a month from his part-time job. I think you're mistaken. You're missing a zero. No, I'm not. He earns $900 a month, that's it. My name is Maria, and I'm 29 years old. I've been married to Aaron for 5 years, and we've been living in a small apartment ever since. We don't have kids yet. Life isn't luxurious, but it's simple and happy. We both do work we enjoy, and there's little stress. But 6 months ago, things started to change. My mother-in-law, who lives nearby, decided she wanted to move in with us. Aaron and I tried to explain that we couldn't make it work, but she wouldn't listen. What surprised me even more was that Aaron started taking her side. That was the beginning of our problems, and things only got worse. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago, so my mother-in-law had been living alone in her house. She was managing just fine, but now she claimed she couldn't stay there anymore. She said she felt unsafe and uncomfortable. But that wasn't the whole truth. Her house was old and needed major repairs. Instead of spending money to fix it, she decided she wanted to live with us. That way, she could avoid the costs altogether. When we got married, Aaron promised me we wouldn't live with his parents. Their house is only 10 minutes away, so if she ever needs help, we can always be there. Besides, my mother-in-law has never liked me. Even before the wedding, she'd make snide comments about me. Now, whenever we talk, she still throws in little jabs. If we lived together, I know she'd become even harder to deal with. Recently, she quit her part-time job and is now unemployed. If she moved in, we'd have to cover her expenses too, and with our current finances, we just can't do that. But she doesn't seem to care. Don't act so proud when my son is the one supporting you, she snapped. I told her I work from home and contribute financially too, but she ignored me. She kept insisting that Aaron's income was enough to live well. The truth is, we can't survive on his income alone. I asked her if she even knew how much Aaron makes each month. Of course I know, he's my son, and you're lucky to have a husband who's so successful, she said confidently. Really? I asked. If Aaron's part-time salary was so impressive, then she clearly didn't know the reality of his earnings. My mother-in-law spoke to me in her usual condescending tone. I'll take care of the housework so you can go to work. You're not managing the finances well when my son makes so much money. You must be a big spender, aren't you? No, I've told you before, I work from home. I'm not a spender. I work hard and save money, I said firmly. Well, money aside, this apartment is too small for 3 adults, she added casually. So, I replied, exactly, that's why we can't live together. But she just shrugged. Then why don't you move to a bigger place, or maybe buy a house? To my shock, Aaron, as though he'd been hypnotized, started agreeing with her. Was he unable to stand up to his mother, or did he really want to live with her? He began telling me to stop being so stubborn and even said something that shook me to the core. It's more fun to live with my mom, isn't it? What? I asked, completely stunned. She'll help with the housework, Maria. It'll make your life easier too, he said like it was a perfectly reasonable suggestion. Aaron was now fully on board with his mom's plan. I didn't know what to do. I resisted for as long as I could, but then he did something drastic. One day, while I was out, he packed his things and left. When I got home and realized all his belongings were gone, I called him immediately. Where are you? Why is all your stuff gone? I moved out, he said simply. What? Why? You didn't want to live with Mom, so I bought a house. Problem solved, he said. Bought a house? With what money? That's when I heard my mother-in-law's voice on the phone. That's right, Aaron and I will live in the new house together for a while. Maybe you can join us later, after you've had time to think things over. By the way, can you even afford to stay in that apartment on your own? You should be grateful. I hung up. I could hear her sarcastic remarks as I ended the call, but I didn't care anymore. A house? They're lying. There's no way they could afford a house with their financial situation. I didn't even want to know where they went. I realized then and there, I can live on my own. I don't need my husband or his overbearing mother. I'm capable of supporting myself, and that's all I need right now. I had been paying the rent with my own money from the beginning, so I wasn't worried about managing without my husband. In fact, I started seriously thinking about divorce. A few days later, I got a surprising phone call. "Hey, Maria, it's your brother, Tom. Long time no talk. Did you know Aaron and his mom are at my house?" "What?" "Tom owns a house, but after buying it, he got transferred for work. Since then, I've been in charge of managing it." "Wait a second," I said, rushing to check the safe in my bedroom. The key to Tom's house was gone. "Tom, the key is missing. Did you call Aaron about it?" "No, I'm actually outside the house right now, watching. I think I know what's going on, but I'm not sure what to do." "We can call the police," Tom said. "Maybe, but Aaron is still family. Technically, I'm not sure if the police will get involved right away." "You're right, don't worry, I'll handle it in a couple of days. Can you wait a bit?" "Okay, let me know if you need anything from me." After hanging up, I immediately called Aaron. "Oh, I hope you're feeling sorry now," said my mother-in-law when she answered the phone. "Where are you?" I asked. "Oh, you don't sound sorry at all," she sneered. "Where are you?" I repeated. "I don't need to tell you anything. You must be desperate without my son's $9,000 monthly salary," she said smugly. $9,000 salary? Who are you talking about?" "Of course, Aaron. My son has enough money to buy this wonderful house," she replied, laughing. I couldn't help but laugh too. "What's so funny?" she snapped. "Aaron said he'd divorce me if I didn't listen to him." "That's fine with me," I said. "How stubborn are you? If he leaves you, you won't survive on your own." "Actually, I can manage just fine. I don't need a husband who only earns $900 a month." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Hello? Are you still there? The mother of a man who only makes $900 a month? What are you talking about?" she finally asked. "I'm saying Aaron earns $900 a month from his part-time job. You must be missing a zero." "No, I'm not. It's $900. When I asked Aaron about his income, he said, around 9. That's what he meant, $900, not 9,000. It seemed hard for her to believe. "Just so you know," I continued, "it's thanks to my salary that we've been able to cover all our expenses. My salary is $5,000, not $500. As you probably think, I'm not being supported by Aaron. He quit his full-time job years ago and only works part-time, 3 days a week." My mother-in-law didn't respond. I decided to add one final blow. "Oh, and by the way, the house you're living in now, the one you think Aaron bought for you, it actually belongs to my brother." "That's not true. Aaron bought this house for me." "No, it's my brother's house. He gave me the key, and Aaron took it without permission. What you and Aaron have done is a crime. I'm going to report it to the police." "Wait, please don't call the police," she screamed. "Then leave the house immediately," I said. Before I could say more, my mother-in-law hung up, still shouting in a panic. I figured my husband and his mother were probably arguing after our phone call. Later, when I went to check on my brother's house, they were gone. They must have rushed back to her house in a panic. I called my brother right away and apologized for the trouble my husband had caused. But there was still one thing left to do: divorce my selfish husband. I filled out the divorce papers and sent them to my in-laws' house. Not long after, my husband called me, sounding desperate. "You're joking, right? I'm really sorry about the house. Please reconsider." "I can't stay married to a thief," I told him coldly. "Go ahead and live happily with your mother, since you love her so much. I can't live without you. Then get a full-time job. Good luck making that $9,000 salary you like to brag about." Even though I was firm, my husband refused to sign the papers, so I brought in a lawyer, and the divorce went through without much trouble. Finally, I was free of him and his overbearing mother. Now, my husband and mother-in-law live together in their old, rundown house. He's still earning $900 a month from his part-time job, and she had to start working part-time again, too. They fight constantly, and she complains to him every day. As for me, I moved out of the apartment and into a new place. I no longer have to support my husband, and my life is much more peaceful. I've been able to focus more on my work from home, and my income has been steadily growing. Soon, I'll save enough to buy a house of my own. Looking back, my husband didn't appreciate his own situation. If he had thought about it properly, he would have realized how lucky he was to have me, but he didn't, and now he's stuck living with his mother, struggling to make ends meet. I'm glad I divorced him. My life is better now, and I'm finally free to enjoy my peace and independence. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you in the next video.
The day I signed away my doctorate fund, I wore my lucky interview blazer. Stupid, really. There's no luck in a blazer when you're walking into an ambush. My name is Alexis, and I spent 6 years building that fund. 2 jobs, data entry by day, waitressing at night. No vacations, no new clothes, definitely no dating. Just me, my tiny studio apartment, and a dream of becoming a trauma psychologist that kept me going through countless midnight shifts. 87,130 times 18 to be exact. Every penny accounted for, every extra dollar stretched and saved. Sweetheart, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, my father said, spreading glossy renderings across our dining room table. A luxury spa complex, prime location, guaranteed returns. His voice had that familiar smoothness, the one he used when closing business deals. I glanced at my mother, who was hovering nearby with an expectant smile. My sister Francesca sat opposite me, examining her manicure with practiced disinterest. The initial investment pool needs to be substantial, Dad continued. We're all contributing, as a family. All of us? I asked, my throat tight. Of course. Mom clasped her hands together. Your father's putting in his bonus, I'm using my inheritance, and Francesca's bringing her business expertise. I noticed she didn't mention actual money from Francesca. How much? I managed. Dad named a figure that matched my education fund down to the dollar. What a coincidence. It's perfect timing, Mom added quickly. Before you start that school thing, this way you'll have even more money for it later. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. Probably Brinley texting to check if I was still coming for our planned study session. I'd have to cancel. Again. Can I see the business plan? I asked. Dad slid over a thick document. Already vetted by lawyers, top-notch team. I flipped through it, my stomach churning. The numbers were there, but something felt off. 6 years of accounting work had taught me to spot creative mathematics. I need time to think about it, I said. The opportunity closes tomorrow, Dad replied sharply. Other investors are lined up. Alexis. Mom's voice softened to that guilt-triggering tone I knew too well. Family has to come first. We've always taught you that. Francesca finally looked up. Don't be difficult, sis. We all have to pull our weight. Pull our weight? Right? Like when she borrowed my car last year and returned it with an empty tank. Or when she borrowed my laptop and spilled wine on it. Never paid me back for either. I stood up. I need to make a call. Alexis, Dad started, but I was already walking to the porch. My hands shook as I dialed Josephine, my former professor who'd become a mentor and friend. They want all of it, I whispered when she answered, for some spa investment. Don't sign anything, she said immediately. I'll be there in 20 minutes. True to her word, Josephine arrived with her briefcase and reading glasses. Dad's smile tightened when I introduced her as my legal advisor. Just a precaution, I said sweetly, for the family's protection, of course. 2 hours later, I watched my father sign the modified agreement. Josephine had insisted on adding what she called standard protective clauses. Mom kept wringing her hands, shooting worried glances at Dad, who clearly wanted to object but couldn't without looking suspicious. Congratulations, Josephine said professionally. I'll file these copies first thing tomorrow. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at the transfer confirmation, my entire future, gone in one click. My phone lit up with a text from Brinley. Everything okay? I started typing, just signed away my PhD fund to help family, no big deal. Deleted it. Started again. Remember when you said my family takes advantage? You were right. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, rain check on studying. Something came up with family. Her response was immediate. Again? Girl, you need boundaries. I looked at the legal documents spread across my bed. Oh, I had boundaries now, and a promissory note that would make a corporate lawyer weep. What my family didn't know, I'd learned from the best about documentation. Every email, every text, every family meeting, recorded and archived. 6 years of watching Francesca get bailed out taught me patience, and Josephine taught me something better, how to write a contract that could strangle someone with their own words. I carefully filed away the signed documents in my fireproof safe. Let them think I'm the same dutiful daughter, the reliable sister, the one who always says yes. For now. 3 weeks of silence. No updates, no emails, not even a group text about the investment. Just mom's usual forwards about family dinner and dad's weekly golf scores. I was elbow deep in receipts at my accounting job when my cousin Maria called. You coming to Uncle Rob's birthday dinner tonight? I'd completely forgotten. Yeah, I'll be there. Good, because I need someone sober to drive me home. This family drives me to drink. She wasn't kidding. By 8 o'clock, Maria was 3 glasses deep in red wine, leaning against me on Uncle Rob's back porch. It's just so unfair, she slurred. Francesca gets everything handed to her, even her store. Did you hear about the bailout? My hand tightened around my water glass. What bailout? The boutique was going under. Again. Maria rolled her eyes. But Daddy Dearest swooped in with some mystery investment. Lucky girl gets another chance while the rest of us actually work for a living. The glass nearly slipped from my fingers. When did this happen? Like 3 weeks ago? Right after that big family meeting everyone was so hush-hush about. I stood up so quickly Maria almost fell over. Through the sliding glass door, I could see Francesca holding court in the living room, showing off what looked like new designer boots. My mother intercepted me before I could reach her. Sweetheart, you look pale. Are you feeling all right? Where's the spa paperwork? I asked quietly. Her smile flickered. What? The investment documents, Mom. For the spa complex. Where are they? Oh, that's all being handled by your father's team. You know how these things are. There is no spa, is there? The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Let's not do this here, she whispered. It's your uncle's birthday. Fine. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. My apartment. I turned to leave, but her hand caught my arm. Alexis, please. Family matters should stay private. I looked down at her manicured fingers, probably fresh from the salon Francesca owned. Private? Like the way you privately took my education fund? She released me like I'd burned her. The next morning, they all showed up. Mom, Dad, and Francesca. Even Francesca's business partner Gareth tagged along, looking uncomfortable in an expensive suit. This is ridiculous, Francesca started. You're being dramatic. Show me the spa paperwork, I interrupted. Dad cleared his throat. The deal fell through. Really? When? These things happen in business, he said smoothly. Sometimes investments don't. Stop lying. I opened my laptop, turned it around. Here's the county business registry. No new spa applications. No permits. No nothing. Francesca shifted in her seat. Gareth suddenly found the ceiling fascinating. But here's what I did find. I clicked to another screen. $87, 432 and 8 cash injection into Francesca's Boutique LLC 3 weeks ago. Exact amount? Interesting coincidence. You went snooping through private business records? Dad's face darkened. Public records, Dad. Amazing what you can find when you know where to look. Mom stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. Sweetie, you have to understand. Your sister was in trouble, so you stole my future to bail her out. Again? We didn't steal anything, Francesca snapped. It was a family decision. I laughed. Actually laughed. A family decision? Like when you decided to take my car and wreck it? Or when you decided I should give up that summer internship to help at your store opening? That's enough. Dad stood up. We're your parents. We made a judgment call. You made a fraud call. I pulled out a folder. Here's your judgment. Full repayment within 30 days, or I enforce every clause in that contract you signed. Mom gasped. You wouldn't. Try me. This is insane. Francesca exploded. I'm your sister, and I'm done being your ATM. They left in a storm of threats and tears. Mom promised we'd talk when I calmed down. Dad mentioned something about ungrateful children. Francesca just glared. Only Gareth lingered, pretending to take a phone call while the others left. Alexis, he said quietly, maybe we can work something out. I smiled, the same smile I'd seen my father use countless times. We already did. It's called a promissory note. Tick-tock. After they left, I called Brinley. Remember when you said I needed boundaries? Yeah, I just built a wall. She was quiet for a moment. You okay? I looked at my laptop screen, at the trail of financial breadcrumbs I'd spent a week uncovering, at the evidence of years of manipulation I'd been too loyal to see. No, I said honestly, but I will be. Your father has 3 classic cars registered in his name, Josephine said, sliding the documents across her desk: a 1965 Mustang, 1970 Corvette, and a 1957 Thunderbird, total value around $300,000. I stared at the vehicle registrations. How did you? Public records, dear. The same ones he uses to intimidate his business rivals. She smiled. The Corvette's scheduled for the Heritage Auto Show next month. Would be a shame if someone filed a lien notice right before. The next week crawled by in a blur of legal paperwork and ignored calls from my family. Mom left tearful voicemails. Dad's messages got progressively angrier. Francesca switched between threats and guilt trips via text. I was at my desk, reviewing the final draft of the demand letter, when my mother showed up unannounced. We need to talk, she said, walking in like she owned my apartment. The time for talking was before you stole my money. Don't be crude. She perched on my couch, smoothing her designer skirt. We're trying to understand your perspective, but you're making it very difficult. My perspective? I turned to face her. Okay, here it is. You lied to me, took my education fund, and gave it to Francesca. Again. We didn't think you'd hold us to it. We're your parents. That's the problem, isn't it? You never think I'll hold anyone accountable. She sighed dramatically. Your father is very upset. This could affect his health. Emotional blackmail won't work anymore, Mom. It's not blackmail to care about family. She stood up, voice rising. Everything we've done has been for this family. No, everything you've done has been for Francesca. That's not fair. Really? Remember when I got that scholarship to study abroad, but oh no, Francesca was going through a breakup and needed me home, or when I wanted to move out for college, but Francesca needed a roommate for her first apartment. She's your sister, and I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me. But you've never treated me like one. I'm just the backup plan, the reliable one, the ATM. Mom's face crumpled into practiced tears. How can you say such things? Because they're true. And now you're going to pay me back. We can't possibly. Dad's cars can. She froze. You wouldn't dare. The demand letter goes out tomorrow. 30 days to pay in full, or I start placing liens. First the Corvette, then the Mustang, then the T-Bird. Your father loves those cars. I loved my dream too. She left in tears, but I noticed they dried up pretty quickly once she reached her car. The next morning, I had barely sat down at work when Francesca burst into my office. You're going to destroy everything, she screamed, mascara already running. My coworkers stared. I led her to the break room. Lower your voice. Do you know what you're doing? She hissed. Dad's cars are his life, his reputation in the collector's community. Should have thought about that before using my money to bail out your failing business. I was desperate. The boutique is everything to me. And my doctorate was everything to me. Funny how that worked out. She grabbed my arm. Please, Alexis, I'll pay you back slowly. I promise. Like you promised to pay me back for the car? The laptop? The rent money? That was different. No, it wasn't. You've been taking and taking for years because you knew I wouldn't fight back. Well, surprise. Mom says you're just jealous because I'm more successful? I laughed. Successful? Your boutique is hemorrhaging money. The only reason you're still open is because of my savings. You bitch, she whispered. You've always been jealous of me. No, Francesca. I've always been used by you. There's a difference. Later that night, I received an email from Dad's lawyer attempting to dispute the promissory note. I forwarded it to Josephine. Her response came minutes later. Their lawyer's good, but I'm better. Sleep well. I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The Heritage Auto Show website showed Dad's Corvette as a featured entry. Below it was a form for filing legal notices. My phone buzzed, a text from Brinley. How's the war going? I looked at the legal notice form, thought about Dad's precious cars, about years of being the family doormat. Remember how they always said I was too nice? I texted back. Yeah? Not anymore. I clicked submit on the legal notice. Tomorrow, Dad would discover his prized Corvette had a very public problem. Sometimes being nice means being quiet, but sometimes Justice needs to make some noise. News travels fast in collector car circles. By the end of the week, Dad's country club buddies were whispering about the lien. Then someone leaked Francesca's boutique financials to the family WhatsApp group. Aunt Linda called it creative accounting. Uncle Rob was less diplomatic. Who runs a business this badly? I was grabbing coffee before work when I overheard two women at the counter. Did you see Francesca's Instagram? All those designer posts and her stores basically bankrupt. I heard her daddy's cars are getting seized. I smiled into my latte. Karma was percolating nicely. The real surprise came at the Metropolitan Legal Conference. I was there representing my accounting firm when I literally bumped into him. Alexis? I knew that voice. Samir, my ex from undergrad, still unfairly handsome in his tailored suit. Hey, I managed. Didn't expect to see you here. I'm presenting on contract law. He smiled that same smile that used to make my knees weak. Getting coffee after? For old time's sake? I almost said no. Then I remembered seeing his name somewhere in my research. Sure, why not? Over coffee, he was all charm and carefully casual questions about my family. Heard about your sister's boutique troubles? He said. Tough break. Yeah, investment's gone wrong. His hand tightened slightly around his cup. Interesting. Speaking of investments, I kept my voice light. Didn't you do some work with Gareth Fuller recently? Coffee nearly spilled. How did you? Small world, right? My sister's business partner hiring my ex-boyfriend as his lawyer. Coincidence? Alexis, I can explain. Please do. Explain how you helped draft fake investment documents to defraud me. He glanced around nervously. Not here. Your office. 1 hour. His corner office screamed junior partner ambitions. He closed the door, loosened his tie. It wasn't personal, he started. Creating fake documents to steal my money feels pretty personal. Gareth hired me to draft standard investment papers. I didn't know they were for you until after. Bullshit. I pulled out my phone. You addressed the preliminary documents to me specifically, 2 months before the family meeting. His face went pale. How did you get those? I'm good at my job, Samir. Really good. Want to know what else I found? He sat heavily in his chair. 3 similar investment opportunities in the past year, all targeting people's savings, all using the same template you drafted. You can't prove. Actually, I can, and the Bar Association would be very interested. What do you want? Everything. Every email, every document, every conversation with Gareth about this scam. He'll kill me. The Bar Association will do worse. He opened his laptop with shaking hands. Give me an hour. That night, I sat in my apartment reading through Samir's files. The whole scam laid bare. Gareth using Francesca's boutique to launder money, my parents getting a cut for bringing in investors, Samir providing legal cover. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. Is this Alexis? A panicked voice. I'm calling from Francesca's boutique. She's on the floor and not responding. What? She was screaming about ruined lives, then just collapsed. The ambulance is coming, but she kept saying your name. My hand tightened on the phone. Which hospital? Memorial General. Please hurry. I grabbed my keys, then stopped. Was this another manipulation? Another trap? My phone buzzed again. Gareth. Your sister's in the hospital, he said roughly. Happy now? What happened? What happened? You happened. The lien, the leaked financials, the rumors, it all got to her. She had a breakdown. Not my problem. No? Tell that to your parents. They're beside themselves. I ended the call, stared at my reflection in the dark window. In the glass, I saw my mother's face, heard her voice. Family has to come first. But families don't steal from each other. They don't lie and manipulate and gaslight. My phone lit up with a text from Brinley. Heard about Francesca. You okay? No. Yes. Maybe. Another text came through. From Mom. Your sister needs you. Please. I thought about Francesca lying in a hospital bed, about years of resentment and rivalry, about the satisfaction of watching my family's perfect facade crumble. On my way, I texted back. Not because they deserved it, not because I forgave them, but because I needed to see their faces when they realized this changed nothing. The promissory note was still in effect. The lien was still active, and now I had proof of their larger scam. Sometimes rock bottom has a basement. Memorial General's emergency room reeked of disinfectant and desperation. Mom paced the waiting area while Dad argued with a nurse about family only visiting hours. They both froze when they saw me. Oh, thank God, Mom rushed over. She's been asking for you. Had she? Or was this another manipulation? What happened? Panic attack, Dad said gruffly. She was going through the boutique's papers and just collapsed. A doctor approached with a clipboard. She's stabilized, 2 visitors at a time. Mom grabbed my arm. Come on. Francesca lay in the hospital bed looking small and pale, her designer outfit replaced by a blue gown, an IV dripped steadily beside her. Lexi? Her voice was raspy. You came? Yeah. I stayed by the door while Mom fussed with her pillows. I'm sorry, Francesca whispered. About everything. Sorry because she meant it, or sorry because she got caught. The boutique's finished, she continued. Gareth cleaned out the accounts and disappeared. Mom gasped. What? He's been stealing for months. I was too scared to tell anyone. Tears rolled down Francesca's cheeks. I thought I could fix it with Alexis's money. You should have told us, Mom said. Like you told me about the fake investment? I couldn't help asking. Mom flinched. A nurse came in to check Francesca's vitals. She needs rest. You can come back tomorrow. In the hallway, Dad pulled me aside. We need to talk. About what? The fraud? The lies? Or how about Samir helping you set it all up? His face reddened. You talked to Samir? I have everything, Dad. The fake documents, the emails, the whole scheme. How many other people did you and Gareth scam? It's not what you think. Really? Because it looks like fraud. Wonder what the police would think. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I'm done being the family doormat. He grabbed my arm. Listen here. No, you listen. I yanked free. You have 24 hours to transfer my money back. Every penny, or I'm taking everything to the authorities. You'd destroy this family over money? You already did that when you stole from me. I turned to leave, but stopped. Oh, and Dad? The Corvette's just the beginning. I wonder what your car club buddies will say when they learn the truth about their trusted treasurer. His face went pale. Outside, the night air felt clean compared to the hospital's stuffiness. My phone buzzed. Brinley, you out yet? Yeah. Come over. I have wine and zero judgment. I found her on her balcony with 2 glasses and a sympathetic smile. Spill. So I did. About Francesca's collapse, Gareth's disappearance, the larger scam. Holy shit, she whispered. Your family's like a soap opera. More like a horror show. I took a long sip. Am I terrible for not feeling guilty? They stole your future, Lex. You're allowed to be angry. My phone lit up. An email from Samir. Found more evidence. Gareth and your father ran this scheme 3 times before. Different businesses, same pattern. One victim lost their retirement fund. Meeting tomorrow? I showed Brinley. Your dad's going down, she said quietly. Yeah. You okay with that? I thought about years of manipulation, of Francesca's fake tears and Mom's guilt trips, of Dad's constant dismissal of my dreams. They made their choice, I said. Now they can live with it. Later that night, I sat at my desk reviewing Samir's new files. Each document was another nail in my family's coffin, another victim of their greed. My phone buzzed, Francesca calling from the hospital. There's something you need to know, she said without preamble. About Grandma's trust fund. What about it? The money she left for your education. I took it. Years ago. Dad helped me hide it. The wine glass in my hand cracked. You what? I was desperate. The first boutique was failing, and Dad said you'd never know because you were too busy with your scholarships. I ended the call. All those years of working double shifts, of skipping vacations, of living on ramen while saving every penny. And they had stolen my inheritance too. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to Josephine. Need your help with one more thing. Time to go nuclear. Her response came quickly. Finally, let's burn it all down. I looked at the family photo on my desk, all of us smiling at last Christmas. Such a perfect facade. Time to shatter it completely. The trust fund documents lay spread across Josephine's desk like evidence at a crime scene. 6 years of bank statements, transfer records, and doctored paperwork. They did a decent job hiding it, Josephine said, adjusting her glasses. But your grandmother's original will is clear. The money was explicitly for your education. How much? With interest? Almost $200,000. My legs went weak. All those extra shifts I'd worked, all those nights I'd stayed up calculating how to stretch my savings. What do we do? Josephine smiled grimly. We go after everything. I visited Francesca in the hospital that afternoon. She'd been moved to the psychiatric ward after what the doctors called acute anxiety with depressive features. You look terrible, I said, sitting beside her bed. Thanks. She tried to smile. Always the honest one, weren't you? Unlike some people. She picked at her blanket. I guess you know about Grandma's money now. Why, Francesca? You already had everything. Not everything. Her voice cracked. Not Dad's respect. Not real success. The boutique was supposed to prove I could make it on my own. By stealing from me? I was going to pay it back, once the store took off, but it never did, because you're terrible at business. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I know I am. Everyone expected me to be this amazing success story, Mom's beautiful daughter, Dad's business prodigy. Well, I was just the reliable backup plan. No. She grabbed my hand. You were the smart one, the capable one. Do you know how terrifying that was, watching you succeed at everything while I kept failing? I pulled my hand away. So you decided to sabotage me? I decided to take shortcuts, and then more shortcuts. And then Gareth showed up with his schemes, and Dad was so proud of my business acumen. Where's Gareth now? Probably in Mexico. He emptied the business account last week. A nurse appeared with medication. I stood to leave. Alexis, Francesca called. I really am sorry. I know, but sorry doesn't fix this. In the hallway, I ran into Mom. She looked older, worn down. Your father's not well, she said without preamble. His blood pressure? Stop. Just stop with the guilt trips. It's not a guilt trip. He's really sick. The stress of everything. The stress of getting caught, you mean? She grabbed my arm. Please, we can work something out. We're family. Family? I laughed. You stole my inheritance. You watched me work multiple jobs for years, knowing I had money sitting in a trust fund. We were protecting you from yourself. You and these crazy dreams of becoming a doctor. Protecting me? You were controlling me, keeping me dependent. Well, guess what? It ends now. I pulled out my phone, showed her the email I'd drafted. This goes to every member of Dad's car club tomorrow. Full details of the fraud scheme, plus copies to the local business journal. Her face went white. You wouldn't. Try me. Oh, and the police get their copy too. Fraud over $100,000 is a felony, Mom. We'll lose everything. Like I lost my future? She started crying. Real tears this time, not the performative ones I'd grown up with. What do you want? Everything. The trust fund money, my savings, with interest, and Francesca signs over her share of Grandma's estate to me. That's all we have left. Should have thought of that before becoming criminals. I walked away as she slid down the wall, sobbing. My phone buzzed. Brinley, you okay? No, but I will be. That night, I sat in my apartment looking at old family photos, Christmases, birthdays, vacations, all those smiling faces hiding so many lies. My phone lit up with texts. Dad, please don't do this. I'm begging you. Mom, think about your sister's condition. Francesca, I'll sign whatever you want. I thought about the scared teenager I'd been, working midnight shifts while my trust fund sat locked away. About the family that watched me struggle and said nothing. I opened my laptop and started typing, Dear members of the Heritage Car Club. Sometimes family isn't about blood, sometimes it's about justice, and justice was about to get very, very expensive. The Heritage Car Show was Dad's favorite event of the year. He'd spent months polishing that Corvette, bragging about its original parts, its perfect restoration. Now he stood watching as officers placed seizure notices on his prized possession. You can't do this, he kept saying. Not here, not today. But I could, and I did. His car club friends whispered and pointed. Some held up phones, recording. The email I'd sent had spread like wildfire through their community. Words like fraud and scam floated through the crowd. Alexis. He grabbed my arm. Please, I'll sell it privately. Just not like this. I pulled free. Should have paid what you owed. I'm your father. No, you're just another criminal who got caught. His face went red, then gray. He stumbled, clutching his chest. Dad? Despite everything, my heart jumped. Can't breathe. Someone called an ambulance. Mom arrived as they loaded him into it, screaming about how this was all my fault. You happy now? She spat. You finally broke him. I watched them drive away, blue lights flashing. My phone buzzed. Brinley. Saw the news? You okay? He had a heart attack at the car show. Shit. Bad? Minor, according to the paramedics, but Mom's playing it up for maximum guilt. Classic her. I walked through the dispersing crowd to where Josephine waited. The seizure's legal, she said. They can fight it, but they won't win. What about the trust fund investigation? Police are very interested. Turns out your father's creative accounting went beyond just your inheritance. My phone kept lighting up with messages from relatives, some supportive, most horrified. Aunt Linda called me heartless. Uncle Rob said he'd suspected Dad's schemes for years. I visited the hospital that evening, found Mom in the waiting room with Francesca, who'd been released from the psychiatric ward that morning. Mild cardiac event, Mom said stiffly. No permanent damage, no thanks to you. Francesca wouldn't meet my eyes. The police called me today, about the trust fund. And I told them everything, about Dad helping me hide it, about the other schemes. Mom gasped. You did what? I'm tired of lying, Mom. Tired of pretending we're perfect. A doctor approached with papers. Mr. Price can go home tomorrow, but he needs to avoid stress. Mom laughed bitterly. Stress? His own daughter is destroying him. No, I said quietly. He destroyed himself. Back home, I found an envelope in my mail. Inside was a check, the full amount of my savings plus interest, and a note from Dad. You win. The trust fund money will follow. Just stop the investigation. Please. Dad, I called Josephine. They paid. The initial amount, yes, but the trust fund fraud is criminal. That's out of our hands now. Good. My phone lit up. Francesca, did you get Dad's money? Yes. The police want me to testify about everything. I sat down heavily. Are you going to? Yes, I'm done covering for him, for all of us. Silence stretched between us. I really am sorry, Lexi, for everything. I know. Think we'll ever be okay? I thought about years of resentment, of competition and lies. I don't know. That night, I sat at my desk staring at a letter, an acceptance to the doctoral program I'd dreamed of. It had arrived that morning, lost in the chaos of Dad's heart attack and the car seizure. My phone buzzed. Brinley. Dinner? You shouldn't be alone tonight. I looked at the acceptance letter again, at the check from Dad, at a photo of my grandmother on my desk. Actually, I texted back, I'm not alone anymore. I've got myself back. The next morning, the local paper's business section ran the story, prominent businessman under investigation for fraud. Below it, a photo of Dad's Corvette being towed from the car show. Mom called, crying. I let it go to voicemail. Francesca texted, police interview tomorrow, scared but ready. I opened my laptop and started typing my acceptance email to the doctoral program. Sometimes victory tastes like ashes, but sometimes it tastes like freedom. I hit send on the email, then opened my banking app. Dad's repayment had cleared. The trust fund investigation was proceeding. My future was mine again. In my inbox, another email arrived from the police detective handling the case. Time to finish what I started. The courtroom felt smaller than I expected. Dad sat at the defendant's table, shoulders slumped in his once pristine suit. Mom wasn't there. She'd stopped attending after the first hearing. Francesca took the stand, her hands shaking as she detailed years of financial manipulation. Dad stared at the floor as his golden child dismantled his carefully constructed image. The trust fund was just the beginning. She testified. There were other investors, other schemes. Dad said it was just business, but I watched him crumble with each revelation. The great manipulator, finally manipulated by truth. During the recess, he approached me in the hallway. "You could still stop this," he whispered. "Tell them you want to drop the charges." "That's not how criminal cases work, Dad. You know that." "I did it all for the family." "No, you did it for yourself, for your ego." He aged 10 years in that moment. "I'll lose everything." Like I almost lost my future? Back inside, the judge delivered the sentence: 18 months plus restitution. Dad would serve his time in minimum security, but his reputation was already serving life. Outside the courthouse, Francesca caught up to me. "Moving to Arizona next week," she said. "Fresh start." "Good luck." "I mean it this time. The fresh start. No more schemes, no more lies." She hesitated. "Maybe we can talk sometimes." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple business wear. The artificial confidence replaced by something more genuine. Maybe, someday. Mom was waiting by my car. "Happy now?" she asked. "Your father's going to prison." "He sent himself to prison. I just exposed the truth." The truth?" She laughed bitterly. "The truth is, you destroyed this family." "No, Mom. The family destroyed itself. I just refused to be collateral damage anymore." I drove to my grandmother's grave, placed the court documents against her headstone. "Got it all back, Grandma. Plus interest. Hope you're proud." My phone buzzed. Brinley. "Verdict?" "Guilty. Prison time." "You at the cemetery?" "How'd you know?" "Because I know you. Coming to get you. First round's on me." Later, at our favorite bar, Brinley raised her glass. "To justice." "To consequences," I corrected. My phone lit up with a text from Josephine. "Doctoral program called. They're holding your spot for spring semester." I showed Brinley. "Look who's going to be Dr. Alexis." She grinned. "If I still want it." "Do you?" I thought about the past months. The anger, the vindication, the cost. "Yeah, but not for the reasons I did before." "Oh? Before, I wanted to prove something. To them. To myself. Now," I smiled. "Now, I just, want it for me." My phone buzzed again. "Francesca. Found more of Dad's documents in the boutique. Police want to see them. Should I?" I typed back, "Truth sets you free." Her response came quickly. "Speaking of free, I signed over my inheritance rights. Check your email." Brinley watched me read the documents. "You okay?" "Getting there." We ordered another round. Outside, the sun was setting on the city where my family's empire had crumbled, where I'd finally stood up and said enough. My phone buzzed one last time. "Mom, your father wants to see you before they take him tomorrow." I didn't respond. Some bridges stay burned. Some families stay broken. But sometimes broken things make way for stronger replacements. I raised my glass to Brinley. "To new foundations?" "To new foundations," she echoed. Tomorrow, I'd start my doctoral applications. Next week, I'd help Francesca pack for Arizona. Next month, Dad would start his sentence. But tonight I sat with my best friend, feeling the weight of secrets and lies finally lift from my shoulders. Feeling free. My phone lit up with another message, from my grandmother's old number. Mom must have finally canceled it. The automated text read, "This number is no longer in service." I smiled. Some endings are really beginnings in disguise. "One more round?" Brinley asked. "One more round," I agreed. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars, like possibilities, like truth. I was ready for all of it.
The steady beep of hospital monitors had become my white noise. 3 days since I'd collapsed at my desk, and now I was trapped in this sterile prison of tubes and wires, my body waging war against itself. I'm Cynthia, and until last Tuesday, I was crushing it as marketing director at Lane & Associates. Now, I'm just trying to keep my organs from self-destructing. My phone buzzed. Cameron's name lit up the screen. "Sin, are you alone?" His voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Unless you count the army of nurses. Yeah, what's wrong?" "Your mother and sister are here, in your office." My stomach dropped. I hadn't spoken to either of them in months, not since Reagan's Christmas meltdown over me refusing to invest in her latest pyramid scheme. "What do you mean they're in my office?" "They showed up with boxes, saying they're here to clean out your desk. They're claiming you won't be returning to work." Cameron's voice lowered. "Listen, I'm going to put you on speaker. Don't say anything yet." My heart hammered against my ribs as muffled voices filled the line. "It's just devastating," my mother Zella's familiar dramatic tone carried through. "The doctors say she might never fully recover. Such a shame. She was always so capable." "We're just trying to help," Reagan added, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Someone needs to handle her affairs while she's, you know." "And you're saying she asked you to do this?" Cameron's skepticism was barely concealed. "Well, she's hardly in any condition to make decisions," Zella replied. "As her mother, I have certain rights. We'll need access to her accounts, of course, for medical expenses." I could picture them there, vultures circling what they thought was a corpse. Reagan, probably wearing one of her Instagram-worthy outfits, ready to document her heartbreaking family tragedy for her followers. Zella, lips pursed in that false concern she'd perfected over years of manipulating situations to her advantage. "And what about her position here?" Cameron asked. "Oh, Reagan has experience in marketing," Zella gushed. "She could step in temporarily, keep things running smoothly." I'd heard enough. "Actually," I said clearly into the phone, "I'll be back on Monday." The silence that followed was deafening. "Sin," Reagan's voice cracked, we were just trying to help." "By stealing my job?" My voice was ice. "Get out of my office." "Cynthia, darling," Zella recovered quickly. "You're not thinking clearly. The doctors said I have an autoimmune flare-up, not terminal cancer. And they never spoke to you because you're not on my contact list. Get out." "You're being dramatic," Zella snapped, her caring facade cracking. "This is exactly why you need our help. You've always been so difficult about accepting help." "Cameron," I said, "could you please escort them out? And if they resist, feel free to call security." "Already on it," he replied, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "You'll regret this," Reagan hissed. "We're your family." "No," I said. "You're opportunists who thought I was too weak to fight back. That was your mistake." I ended the call. My hands were shaking, but not from illness. Rage coursed through my veins, stronger than any medication they were pumping into me. I'd spent years making excuses for their behavior, maintaining peace at the cost of my own boundaries. Not anymore. A nurse walked in, checking my vitals. "Your heart rate's elevated," she frowned. "Everything okay?" I smiled, and it felt dangerous. "Actually, yes. I just found out exactly what I'm fighting for." My phone buzzed again. A text from Cameron. "They're gone, but you should know they were asking about your 401k and life insurance policy before I called. Just in case," they said. I stared at those words until they burned into my brain. They hadn't just come to steal my job. They'd been hoping I would die? Planning on it, even. Well, if they wanted to play games, I'd play. But this time, I'd be writing the rules. I opened my notes app and started typing, Day 1 of Operation Karma. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with receipts, screenshots, and irrefutable evidence of just how badly they fucked with the wrong daughter. The monitor's beeping picked up pace again, but this time it wasn't from stress. It was anticipation. They thought they could take everything while I was down. Time to show them exactly who they were dealing with. The hospital room felt different the next morning. Maybe it was the sunlight streaming through the window, or maybe it was the fire of purpose burning in my chest. I grabbed my journal, a habit I'd started in therapy years ago, and began documenting everything. A knock at the door interrupted my writing. Cameron stood there, holding a coffee and wearing an expression that said he had news. "You look better," he said, pulling up a chair. Amazing what attempted identity theft does for the complexion. I closed my journal. "What aren't you telling me?" he sighed, setting down his coffee. "After you hung up yesterday, they stuck around, started telling stories about your unstable behaviour and history of poor decisions. Your sister even cried about how you've been spiralling for months." Of course she did. I remembered Reagan's acting classes in high school, the only thing she'd ever committed to besides Instagram filters. What exactly did they say? That you'd been making erratic choices at work, that you'd been giving Reagan unofficial consulting work, which is why she deserves your position. He leaned forward. "But here's what got me. Your mother said, and I quote, 'Cynthia won't fight back. She never does.'" The words hit like a punch to the gut. Memories flooded back. Zella borrowing my college fund for Reagan's dance competitions. Reagan accidentally destroying my thesis notes the night before submission. Both of them gaslighting me when I dared to complain. "They're right," I said quietly. "I never did fight back." "Why not?" I traced the IV line in my arm. "When I was 12, my dad left. Zella told everyone it was my fault, that I was too difficult, too independent. Reagan was only 7, so she believed it. Every time I stood up for myself after that, Zella would say I was acting out again, just like when I drove Daddy away." Cameron's face darkened. "That's psychological abuse, Sin. I know that now, but by the time I figured it out, it was easier to just succeed quietly. Keep my distance, build my own life." "Well, they're not being quiet anymore." He pulled out his phone. "Your sister asked about your 401k specifics, wanted to know if there was a way to access it in case of permanent disability or death." My blood ran cold. They really thought I was dying. "Gets worse." He scrolled through his phone. "She also asked about your health insurance payout terms, said something about making arrangements while you were still with us." I grabbed my journal again, writing furiously. Did anyone else hear this? Eva was there. She's been documenting everything since they showed up. She's worried about you. A text lit up my phone. Speak of the devil. Eva had sent a screenshot of Reagan's latest Instagram story, a tearful selfie with the caption, "Family is everything, praying for miracles." They're setting up a narrative, I realised, making it look like I'm incompetent, unstable and potentially terminal, so when they try to take control of my assets, no one would question it, Cameron finished. Classic con setup. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my anger, all the birthdays Zella had ruined, all the opportunities Reagan had tried to sabotage. Not this time. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time to let them believe their own lie." I met his eyes. "They want to play grieving family. Let's see how far they'll take it." "You're going to trap them," he said slowly, a smile spreading across his face. "They're counting on me being the same passive daughter I've always been, the one who keeps quiet to keep peace." I showed him my journal. "But I've been keeping receipts for years. Every manipulation, every theft, every lie." "Need any help?" "Actually, yes. Don't tell them I'm being released tomorrow. Let them think I'm still critical. Let's see what they do when they think they have time to execute their plan." Cameron stood, gathering his things. "Eva's going to love this. She's wanted to take them down since Reagan tried to steal your Phillips account last year." As he reached the door, I called out, "Cameron, thank you for calling me yesterday, for seeing through them." He turned back. "You know what the difference is between you and them, Sin. You earned everything you have. They're just trying to steal it. After he left, I opened my journal to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote, evidence list. Below it, step 1, let them think they're winning. My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram notification. Reagan had posted a new story. Sometimes the strongest people face the hardest battles. Shucks, pray for Cynthia. She's family first. I smiled, screenshot it, and added it to my growing file. They wanted to write my ending. Fine. But they forgot one thing. Every good story needs a plot twist. Monday morning, I walked into Lane & Associates like a ghost, returning to haunt the living. Heads turned, jaws dropped, and someone actually dropped their coffee mug. Thanks to Eva's intel, I knew exactly why. Reagan's TikTok about my tragic condition had gone viral over the weekend. "Holy shit," whispered Mark from accounting as I passed his desk. "We thought you were dying." I smiled sweetly. "Sorry to disappoint." Eva met me at my office door, tablet in hand. "You need to see this." She pulled up a GoFundMe page titled "Help Support Cynthia's Final Journey." The description, written by an anonymous family friend, Reagan's writing style was unmistakable, detailed my brave battle and requested donations for funeral arrangements and medical expenses. "It's raised $12,000, Eva said. "Funeral arrangements?" I scrolled through the comments. "That's straight-up fraud." "Gets better," Eva swiped to a new tab. "Your sister's been busy while you were dying." There it was, my entire Q4 marketing strategy posted on LinkedIn under Reagan's name. The campaign I'd spent months developing, the one that was supposed to land us the Mitchell account, now being presented as her original work. "She must have taken my notebook when they were here," I said, my voice deadly calm. "The one with all my drafts and client notes. Found this in your trash." Eva handed me a mangled spiral notebook, its pages torn and coffee-stained. Guess they thought they'd destroyed the evidence. I flipped through the damaged pages, my anger rising with each familiar scribble and strategy note. They really thought I wouldn't come back. "What's the play?" Eva leaned against my desk. "We could report the fraud, get the GoFundMe shut down." "No." I set the notebook down. "That's too easy. They'd play victim, claim it was all a misunderstanding." I logged into my computer. "We're going to let them dig deeper." "You're going to trap them?" "I'm going to let them trap themselves." I pulled up Reagan's LinkedIn post. Look at the timestamp. She posted this Friday night, right after visiting my office. So the Mitchell presentation is scheduled for Wednesday? I smiled. "And guess who just confirmed they'll be attending?" Eva's eyes widened. "You're going to let her present?" "Better. I'm going to let her try." I forwarded Reagan's post to my private email. "She stole my strategy, but she doesn't understand it. She can't explain the research, the market analysis, the customer psychology behind each decision. She'll crash and burn." Publicly. I started typing an email to Cameron, "And when she does, we'll have proof she stole intellectual property worth millions in potential contracts." Eva grinned. "You're not just getting revenge, you're getting receipts." Speaking of receipts, I pulled up the GoFundMe page again. Time to anonymously report some fundraising fraud to the IRS. Nothing like a tax investigation to make people nervous. My phone buzzed. A text from Cameron. "Reagan just called. Says she's been consulting on the Mitchell account and wants to help with the presentation since you're still recovering. What should I tell her?" "Tell her yes," I replied. "Tell her everything." Eva raised an eyebrow. "You're really going to let her walk into that meeting?" With bells on, I started gathering my files. But first, I need to make a few calls, starting with the Mitchell team. By lunch, my plan was in motion. The Mitchell executives were quietly informed about potential intellectual property issues. The IRS had received an anonymous tip about fraudulent fundraising. And Reagan had just posted another TikTok, this one about stepping up for family in crisis while wearing what looked suspiciously like my favourite blazer. "One more thing," Eva said before leaving my office. "Your mum's been calling HR, trying to get access to your benefits information. Says she needs to make arrangements." I thought about the trust fund I'd discovered existed last year, the one Zella had somehow kept hidden from me, about all the times money had disappeared from my accounts growing up, about Reagan's mysterious consulting fees that always seemed to match my bonus amounts. "Let her try," I said. "The more evidence we have, the better." Eva paused at the door. "They're going to play dirty when they realise you're back." "Good." I held up my destroyed notebook. "Because I'm done playing nice." After she left, I opened my laptop and started a new document. "Dear Reddit, I need advice. My family tried to steal my life while I was in the hospital, and now they're about to learn why that was a mistake." The cursor blinked, waiting. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about getting even. It's about making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people you're dealing with. And I was just getting started. The pounding on my apartment door started at 8:47 p.m. I knew it was coming. Reagan's latest TikTok had shown her heading to confront toxic negativity. I pressed record on my phone and opened the door. "How dare you!" Zella burst in, Reagan trailing behind her like a designer-clad shadow. "After everything we've done for you." "Please come in," I said dryly, closing the door. "Make yourselves at home, like you did in my office." "We were trying to help." Reagan's mascara was already smearing, right on cue. "You were dying, Sin. The doctors said." "Which doctors?" I interrupted. "The ones you never spoke to? Because I checked. Neither of you are on my approved contacts list." "That's exactly the problem." Zella paced my living room. "You've always shut us out, kept secrets. How were we supposed to handle your affairs if something happened?" "Handle my affairs?" I played the recording from my office meeting on my phone. Reagan's voice filled the room. "She's been giving me consulting work for months." Reagan paled. I was just trying to protect your projects." "By stealing them?" I pulled out my destroyed notebook. "Like you protected this." "Now, Cynthia," Zella stepped between us, voice dripping honey. "You're being dramatic. We were simply securing your legacy, making sure your work wouldn't be lost if I died?" I smiled. "How's that GoFundMe going?" Reagan's face went from pale to red. "That was to help you." "Funny, because the IRS has some questions about that, specifically about where the $12,000 went. You reported us." Zella's mask slipped. "Your own family?" "No, someone else did. Apparently, fraud is still fraud, even when it's family committing it." "We were protecting your reputation," Reagan shrieked. "You collapsed at work. People were talking." "About that," I pulled up her LinkedIn post. "Want to explain how you got my entire Q4 strategy, the one you're presenting to Mitchell on Wednesday?" Silence fell. Zella's eyes darted between me and Reagan. "You're not well enough to handle that presentation," she said finally. "Reagan was doing you a favour." "A favour?" I laughed. "Let's talk about favours. Let's talk about the trust fund Dad left me that you've been hiding. Let's talk about all the times money mysteriously vanished from my accounts. Let's talk about—" "You ungrateful bitch," Zella exploded. "Everything I did was to protect you from yourself. You were always too independent, too stubborn to see what was good for you." "Good for me?" I held up my phone, still recording. "Like trying to access my 401k while I was hospitalised. Like asking about my life insurance payout." Reagan started crying. Real tears this time. "You're twisting everything. We're your family." "No," I said quietly. "You're parasites who saw an opportunity when I got sick. But here's what you didn't count on. I kept everything, every manipulative text, every forged document, every stolen idea." "You'll regret this," Zella hissed. Nobody likes a vindictive daughter. Maybe not, but you know what they really hate? Insurance fraud, identity theft, intellectual property theft. I open my door. Get out of my apartment. This isn't over, Reagan sniffled, grabbing her designer bag. You're right, it's not. I stopped recording, but for once, I'm the one writing the ending. After they left, I uploaded the recording to my growing evidence folder. Then I opened Reddit and started typing. Update. Remember my family who tried to steal my life while I was in the hospital? They just showed up at my apartment. Here's how it went. My phone buzzed. A text from Eva. You won't believe what I just found. Reagan's been sending your proposal to other companies under your email address. I screenshot the text, adding it to my folder. Another piece of evidence, another nail in their coffin. My Reddit post was already gaining traction. Comments flooded in. Your mum is a narcissist's narcissist. Please tell me you're pressing charges. This is some Succession-level family drama, I replied to one comment. Don't worry, Wednesday's presentation will be interesting. My phone buzzed again. Zella, you're making a mistake. Family should handle things privately. I thought about all the private humiliations, the quiet theft, the years of manipulation hidden behind closed doors. You're right, I texted back, but I'm not family anymore. I'm just someone you tried to destroy, and unlike family, I don't have to keep your secrets. I turned my phone off and looked around my apartment. The space I'd built, the life I'd created, everything they'd tried to steal. Wednesday couldn't come fast enough. Wednesday morning arrived with the weight of anticipation. I sat in Cameron's office, watching the security feed as Reagan strutted into the building, wearing what was definitely my missing Burberry blazer. Everything set? I asked Eva, who was perched on Cameron's desk with her laptop open. Mitchell team is prepped, legal's on standby, and... She clicked something. Your Reddit post just hit the front page. The post had exploded overnight. Aita for letting my sister present my stolen work to a multi-million-dollar client. 20,000 upvotes and counting. Showtime, Cameron said as Reagan walked into the conference room. You ready? I straightened my jacket. I've been ready my whole life. The conference room was packed. Mitchell's entire executive team, our board members, and, surprise, 3 representatives from competing agencies Reagan had apparently contacted using my forged email. Reagan's confidence faltered when she saw me sitting there. Cynthia, I thought you were still recovering. Wouldn't miss this for the world, I smiled. Please begin. She fumbled through her slides, my slides, stumbling over terminology she didn't understand, strategies she couldn't explain. The Mitchell CEO's frown deepened with each passing minute. Ms. Fowler, he interrupted, could you explain the psychological framework behind this consumer behavior analysis? Reagan froze. It was a basic question about research I'd spent months conducting. Well, it's about making people want things. Actually, I stood up. It's about understanding the intersection of social identity theory and purchase motivation in luxury markets. Would you like me to elaborate? This is my presentation, Reagan snapped, mask cracking. I've been consulting on this account for months. Interesting. I opened my laptop. Because I have the original files here, with metadata showing when they were created, along with security footage of you stealing my notebook last week, and emails you sent to competing agencies using my forged signature. The room went deadly quiet. That's not... Reagan's voice shook. Not what? Not legal, not ethical, not the behaviour of someone who started a fraudulent GoFundMe for my funeral while I was in the hospital. The Mitchell CEO stood up. I think we've seen enough. Wait, Reagan grabbed her phone. I can explain everything. Mom, tell them. But Zella wasn't answering. She was probably too busy dealing with the IRS agents who'd shown up at her house that morning, courtesy of an anonymous tip about charity fraud. Reagan Fowler? A man in a suit entered the room. I'm with the fraud division. We need to ask you some questions about certain financial transactions. She ran, stumbling in her heels, straight into two more agents waiting in the hallway. Well, the Mitchell CEO turned to me. This was enlightening. I think we'll need to reschedule our actual presentation. Of course, I handed him a folder. In the meantime, here's my complete proposal, including all the research Reagan couldn't explain. After everyone filed out, Eva burst in. You need to see this. She pulled up Reagan's latest TikTok, filmed minutes ago from what looked like a bathroom stall. My sister set me up. She's trying to destroy me because she's jealous of my success. This is a toxic attack on my career. Check the comments, Eva grinned. They were brutal. Didn't you start a funeral fund for her last week? This you stealing her clothes, with security footage screenshots? Found her sister's Reddit post? You're the villain here, sis. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Miles Barnes. Eva suggested I reach out. I'm a lawyer specializing in identity theft and fraud. Heard you might need one. I remembered Miles from law school. We'd dated briefly before I caught him cheating, but he was good at his job. Very good. Book it, I told Eva, and send him everything we've collected. Already did. She showed me her screen. Also, your Reddit post. Someone cross-posted it to Pro Revenge. It's going nuclear. I checked my email. The Mitchell CEO had already responded. Impressive handling of a difficult situation. Let's discuss an expanded contract next week. Another text came through. Zella. The IRS is here. What have you done? I typed back. Ask Reagan about the GoFundMe money. Oh, wait. You can't. She's with the fraud division. You've destroyed this family. No, I replied. I just exposed it. Eva touched my arm. You okay? I looked around the conference room where everything had just imploded, where I'd finally stood up, where I'd won. You know what? I really am. Good, she grinned, because Miles is here, and he says we've got enough evidence to bury them. I gathered my things, straightened my jacket, and headed for the door. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's making sure it's documented, verified, and legally binding. And we were just getting to the good part. The law office felt too small for the amount of tension crammed inside it. Zella sat rigid in her chair. Reagan slouched beside her, both avoiding my eyes as Miles spread documents across the conference table. Let's begin with the trust fund, he said, sliding forward a thick folder. Established by Robert Fowler in 2001, meant to transfer to Cynthia at age 18. That's private family business, Zella snapped. Actually, Miles smiled, it's court record, including the unauthorized withdrawals you've been making for the past 15 years. Reagan's head shot up. Mum? It was for your dance competitions, Zella hissed. Your acting classes, your Instagram career, everything I did was for this family. You mean everything you stole, I corrected. From my trust fund, from my bank accounts, from my college savings. Miles pulled out more papers. We've documented systematic financial abuse dating back to 2006, including some very interesting transfers to Reagan's accounts that coincide with Cynthia's work bonuses. Reagan paled. That was consulting work. Funny, I leaned forward, because according to these emails Eva found, you were selling my work to competitors while claiming to be me. That's fraud, identity theft, and corporate espionage. You ungrateful little, Zella started. I wouldn't finish that sentence, Miles interrupted, not with everything we've uncovered about the GoFundMe scheme. We were trying to help, Reagan's voice cracked. You were dying. No, I wasn't, and you knew that. just like you knew exactly what you were doing when you stole my work and tried to take my job. Miles slid another document forward. The trust fund audit reveals over $300,000 in misappropriated funds. The IRS is particularly interested in where that money went. Zella's composure finally cracked. You have no idea what I sacrificed for you girls after your father left. After you drove him away, I corrected. What? Reagan looked between us. Oh, you didn't know? I pulled out an old letter I'd found in Dad's things. Mom didn't drive Dad away because I was difficult. He left because he caught her embezzling from his company. The trust fund was his way of protecting at least some money from her. Reagan grabbed the letter, hands shaking as she read. Mom, is this true? Zella's face twisted. Everything I did was to give you opportunities, to make sure you had what Cynthia had. By stealing it? Reagan's mascara was running again, but for once it wasn't an act. You told me Cynthia was selfish for not sharing, that she owed us because she had more. She does owe us. We're family. No, I stood up. We're not. Not anymore. Miles, show them the options. He laid out 2 final documents. Option 1, you both sign over any claim to the trust fund, repay every stolen dollar, and stay away from Cynthia permanently. Option 2, we proceed with criminal charges for fraud, theft, and corporate espionage. You can't be serious, Zella sputtered. The Mitchell contract you tried to steal? I smiled. Worth $8 million. The identity theft charges alone could mean jail time. Reagan grabbed the first document, hands trembling. I'll sign. Mom, please, I can't go to jail. Reagan, Zella looked betrayed. After everything I taught you about family loyalty. You taught me to steal and lie. Reagan was crying for real now. And now I might lose everything because of it. Miles slid them both pens. Choose quickly. The DA is very interested in this case. Zella stared at me. Really stared, like she was seeing me for the first time. You'll regret this. You'll have no one. Better no one than people who see me as something to steal from. I gathered my things. Sign or don't. Either way, I'm done. Reagan signed first, mascara dripping onto the paper. After a long moment, Zella followed. We're still your family, she said as I reached the door. I turned back one last time. No, you're just people who shared my last name while trying to steal my life. Miles, make sure they leave through different exits. I don't want them planning anything else. In the hallway, Eva was waiting. You okay? They're signing now, I said. It's really over. Not quite. She held up her phone. Your Reddit story just got picked up by a major news outlet. They want to interview you about financial abuse and family fraud. I thought about all the other people out there, trapped in toxic family dynamics, being gaslit and stolen from by the people who should protect them. Set it up, I said. It's time to tell the whole story. My phone buzzed. A final text from Reagan. I'm sorry, I didn't know about the trust fund, about Dad, about any of it. I didn't respond. Some apologies come too late, after too much damage. Sometimes the only closure is a door slammed shut, and I was ready to start locking doors. Tell us about the moment you realized your family was trying to steal your life. The podcast host leaned into her microphone. I adjusted my headphones, aware of the thousands listening live. When my boss called me in the hospital and put me on speakerphone, my mother and sister were in my office, claiming I was dying, trying to access my accounts and take my job. And this was while you were recovering from an autoimmune crisis? Yes, they saw me at my most vulnerable and thought, perfect timing. The interview was going viral. My Reddit post had exploded into a movement, with thousands sharing their own stories of family financial abuse. Toxic family. Takedown was trending. Your sister has released a statement, the host said, claiming she was manipulated by your mother, that she didn't understand the extent of the fraud. Reagan knew exactly what she was doing when she started a GoFundMe for my funeral, when she stole my work, when she tried to take my job. I leaned forward. She just didn't expect consequences. My phone lit up with a notification. The DA's office had filed formal charges against Zeller for trust fund fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. Speaking of consequences, the host pulled up a news article. Your mother is facing serious charges. The trust fund audit revealed decades of theft, money stolen from me since I was a child. She's finally facing what she did. After the interview, Eva met me outside the studio. You're trending on LinkedIn now too. People are calling you a whistleblower for exposing family financial abuse. Any word from them? Reagan's gone dark on social media. Zeller's house is up for sale. Eva showed me her phone, but you should see this. It was a package delivery notification from my father. Back at my apartment, I opened the small box with trembling hands. Inside was a letter and an old photo of me at 12, sitting at his desk pretending to work. Dear Cynthia, I saw your interview. I've been following everything. I should have fought harder for you when I left. Should have exposed what your mother was doing then. I was a coward who thought keeping quiet would protect you somehow. I was wrong. You're stronger than I ever was. You fought back. You exposed the truth. I'm proud of you. If you're willing, I'd like to meet. There's more you should know about the trust fund. About everything. Love, Dad. My phone buzzed. Miles. DA wants to meet. They're offering Zeller a deal, but they need your statement about the historical abuse. Another buzz. Cameron. Mitchell signed. Full contract. Double the original budget. They said your handling of the crisis proved you were exactly who they wanted to work with. And another. Eva. You need to see this. She'd sent a link to Reagan's first social media post in weeks. A video, no filters, no makeup. I owe my sister an apology, not for the cameras, not for sympathy, but because I finally understand what Mom did to both of us. She didn't just steal money, she stole our relationship. She turned me into someone who thought it was okay to hurt my own sister. I'm facing the consequences of my choices now, as I should. Sin, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, really sorry, and I'll prove it by testifying against Mom. I closed the video and opened my laptop, starting a new blog post. When family becomes fraud, my story. The words flowed easily now. No more hiding, no more protecting people who never protected me. My doorbell rang. Eva stood there with takeout and wine. Thought you might need company. It's been a big day. Did you see Reagan's video? Yeah. Think she means it? I thought about the little sister who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, before Zeller poisoned her mind, before money and jealousy twisted everything. Doesn't matter, I said. Some bridges stay burned. Your dad's letter, though. One step at a time. I opened the wine. Right now, I need to finish this blog post. People need to know they're not alone, that they can fight back. Eva raised her glass. To fighting back. To consequences, I added. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from an unknown number. You think you've won? Family is forever, Cynthia. You can't erase blood. I showed Eva the text. Zeller's final shot. What are you going to do? I blocked the number and turned back to my blog. Blood isn't always thicker than water. Sometimes it's just the ink we use to write our own ending. The cursor blinked, waiting for more truth. And finally, I was ready to tell it all. Because some stories need to be told, some secrets need to see light, and some families need to learn that karma keeps receipts. The key felt heavy in my hand as I stood outside my childhood home. After Zeller's conviction, the house had legally reverted to me through the trust fund. Now I had to decide what to do with it. Want company? Eva asked from the car. No, This I need to do alone. The door creaked open to emptiness. Zella had cleared out everything before reporting to serve her sentence. 3 years for fraud and financial abuse. The DA called it a landmark case. My footsteps echoed through bare rooms that once held so many shadows. The kitchen, where she'd first stolen my birthday money. The living room, where she'd convinced Reagan I was the enemy. The study where she'd hidden Dad's letters. My phone buzzed. A comment notification on my latest blog post. You did all this for revenge, but look at you now, alone. I smiled, typing back. Alone, but free. Another buzz. Reagan, I'm starting therapy. Real therapy, not just for the court requirements. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need to understand why I became her weapon. I left that one unanswered. Some healing happens in silence. Upstairs, my old bedroom was just walls and carpet marks where furniture used to be. But there, in the closet corner, I found it. My childhood hiding spot. A loose floorboard where I'd stashed my hopes, college brochures, saved coins, dreams of escape. Still hiding things in there? I spun around. Dad stood in the doorway, older but familiar. You came? Got your message? He gestured at the empty house. Selling it? No. I stood up. I'm donating it. Going to be a shelter for people escaping financial abuse. Already talked to the foundation. He nodded, eyes wet. Your mother is where she needs to be, learning that actions have consequences. And Reagan is learning the same thing differently. I closed the closet. Why did you really come, Dad? He pulled out an envelope. Because you deserve to know everything about the trust fund, about why I left the way I did, about the other accounts she never found. My phone buzzed again. Cameron. Mitchell wants to expand the contract. They're calling you a marketing genius for turning family fraud into brand authenticity. Life's funny, Dad said, watching me read the text. Your mother always thought success meant taking from others, but you turned her betrayal into a movement, helped people while helping yourself. That's the difference between us, I said. She saw life as something to steal. I saw it as something to build. We walked downstairs together, each step lighter than the last. Outside, Eva waited with Miles, who'd become more than just my lawyer somewhere along the way. The foundation papers are ready, Miles said. Once you sign, this place officially becomes the First Step shelter. I took the pen, remembering all the documents Zella had forged, all the signatures she'd stolen. This one was mine. Just mine. You know, Dad said quietly, I always thought this house would hold us prisoner forever, but you're setting people free with it. Including myself. My phone lit up. A final email from Zella, sent through her prison account. I wrote you a letter, a real one this time, an apology. The attachment was blank. Perfect. Some apologies don't need words. Some redemption stories aren't about forgiveness. Sometimes healing means building something new from the ruins of what was stolen. Ready? Eva asked as I locked the front door. Almost. I pulled out my phone and opened Reddit one last time. Final update to everyone who followed my story about family fraud and fighting back. Thank you. Today, I'm turning my childhood prison into someone else's escape route. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting free. P.S. to the mother and sister who thought they could steal my life. Thanks for teaching me exactly who I didn't want to be. Your greed became my compass, pointing straight toward everything you'll never understand. That real success isn't what you take. It's what you build. P.P.S. To everyone still trapped in toxic family dynamics, there's help, there's hope, and now there's a shelter with your name on it. Edit. No, I'm not alone. I'm free, and that's everything. I hit post and turned to the people waiting for me. Eva, Miles, Dad. Not the family I was born with, but the one I chose, the one I built. Now I'm ready. Because some endings aren't about closing doors. They're about opening new ones. And this door, it would help others find their way to freedom too. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes she doesn't just keep receipts. Sometimes she turns them into blueprints for something better.
I watch through my car window as they string up gaudy decorations across my front porch, and I can't help but smile at the irony. The banner reads, "Freedom at last," in garish red letters. They have no idea. My name is Leah, and in exactly 47 minutes I'm going to destroy my husband's family. Are you sure about this? Peyton's voice crackles through my phone speaker. She's been my best friend since college, the only one who knows the full truth. Once you do this, there's no going back. They're throwing a divorce party in my house that they think belongs to them. I watch Karen, my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law, directing caterers like a 4-star general. They've had this coming for 12 years? My phone buzzes with a text from Xander, my lawyer. New owners ready, documents signed, green light whenever you're ready. I take a deep breath, remembering the first time Karen called me a gold digger. It was at my own wedding reception, whispered just loud enough for me to hear as I passed by. At least Bodhi got a pretty one, she'd said to Sloane, her daughter, though God knows what else she brings to the table. If they'd only known then that I'd inherited this house, along with a substantial trust fund, from my grandmother. But I'd kept quiet, hoping to keep the peace, hoping they'd accept me eventually. What a joke that turned out to be. A sleek BMW pulls up to the curb, and Bodhi steps out, looking exactly like what he is, a man who's lived his entire life on other people's money. My money for the past decade, though he never knew it. He straightens his designer jacket and heads toward the house, not even glancing in my direction. "Showtime," I murmur to Peyton. "Meet you inside in 20? "I'll bring popcorn," she says, only half joking. I watch as more guests arrive, all friends of the Stouts, all people who've smiled to my face while whispering behind my back. Through the large bay windows, I can see Karen holding court in the living room, probably sharing her version of why her precious son had to divorce his gold-digging wife. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Tamara, my aunt. "Remember, sweetheart, you don't have to go through with this. We can just serve them papers quietly." But I think about the nights I cried myself to sleep while Bodhi sided with his mother, about the accidental coffee spills on my work designs, about Karen and Sloane's constant hints about my unfortunate inability to have children. "I need to do this," I text back. They need to know exactly who they've been messing with. Through the window, I see Karen raising a champagne glass. Even from here, I can read her lips as she starts her speech. To my son's new beginning. The guests cheer, and my resolve hardens. I check my watch. 30 minutes until Xander arrives with the papers. I step out of my car, smoothing down my black dress. It's designer, Chanel, but not obviously so. Karen will hate that she can't quite place it, can't quite calculate its worth. As I approach the house, Raphael, Bodhi's cousin, spots me first. His eyes widen. Aunt Karen," he calls out. "We have a situation." The party goes quiet as I push open the front door. Karen's face transforms from shock to fury to a sickly, sweet smile in the span of a second. "Leah, dear," she says, voice dripping with false concern. "I don't think you were invited to this celebration." I smile, channeling 12 years of patience into this moment. "Actually, Karen, I was just making sure you're enjoying my house. The acoustics in here are fantastic, aren't they? Perfect for parties. She starts, then laughs nervously. "I think the divorce has confused you, dear. This is the Stout family home." "Is it?" I pull out my phone, checking the time. That's interesting, because in about 20 minutes my lawyer will be here with some paperwork that says differently. And the new owners, of course. The champagne glass slips from Karen's hand, shattering on the hardwood floors I'd had installed 3 years ago. The sound echoes through the sudden silence, and I feel 12 years of suppressed satisfaction bubble up inside me. "What new owners?" Bodhi steps forward, face pale. "What are you talking about?" I lean against the doorframe. my doorframe, and smile. Why don't we wait for everyone to arrive? I'd hate to have to tell this story twice. The clock on the wall ticks loudly in the silence. 20 minutes. After 12 years of playing the quiet, submissive daughter-in-law, 20 minutes feels like nothing at all. Let the party begin. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife as I think back to how this all started. 12 years ago, I was young and stupidly in love with Bodhi, believing his charming smile and promises of forever. We could live with Mum for a while, he'd suggested early in our marriage. Save some money. I remember Peyton's reaction when I told her my plan. We were having coffee at our usual spot, and she nearly choked on her latte. You're going to let them move into your house and pretend it's theirs? She'd stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Leah, that's insane. It's just temporary, I'd assured her. Besides, Bodhi says his mum's having financial troubles. The market crashed and her business is struggling. And you believe that? I hadn't answered, because deep down I already knew. Karen's struggling business somehow afforded her weekly spa treatments and designer handbags. Now, standing in my living room surrounded by hostile faces, I catch snippets of whispered conversations. Can she even afford a lawyer? Sloane stage whispers to her mother. I thought Bodhi froze their joint accounts. Karen pats her daughter's arm. Don't worry, dear. She's bluffing. I slip away from the growing crowd and head upstairs, ostensibly to use the bathroom. Instead, I find myself in what used to be my home office, before Karen suggested converting it into a guest room. Opening the closet, I run my fingers along the wall until I find it. A small envelope tucked behind the baseboards. What are you doing up here? I spin around to find Raphael in the doorway, his expression uncertain. Just reminiscing, I say, sliding the envelope into my purse. Lots of memories in this house. Leah, he steps closer, lowering his voice. Whatever you're planning, please think about what this will do to the family. I laugh, and it sounds bitter even to my own ears. The family? You mean the same family that's celebrating my divorce downstairs? You know how Aunt Karen gets. She's just protective of Bodhi. Protective? I move past him to the hallway. Is that what you call it when she convinced him I was cheating last year? Raphael has the grace to look ashamed. She thought she saw you with someone. My Aunt Tamara, the only real family I have left. I pause at the top of the stairs. But none of you bothered to ask, did you? Downstairs, I hear Bodhi's voice rising in anger. What do you mean? You've been handling her legal matters for years. Xander must have arrived early. Perfect timing. I descend the stairs to find my lawyer standing calmly in the foyer, his briefcase a shield between him and my agitated ex-husband. Ah, Leah, Xander says smoothly. Shall we begin? Begin what? Karen demands, pushing forward. This is a private party and you're both trespassing. Actually, comes a new voice from the doorway. I believe they have every right to be here. Tamara steps into the house, her elegant presence commanding immediate attention. Behind her, Peyton slips in with a barely concealed smirk. Who are you? Karen snaps. I'm the new owner, Tamara says simply. Well, as of... She checks her watch. 15 minutes ago. The colour drains from Karen's face. That's impossible. This house has been in the Stout family for 3 generations, I interrupt. That's funny, because I have documentation showing my grandmother purchased it 25 years ago. Would you like to see the paperwork? Sloane pushes through the crowd. You're lying. Daddy would never have... Sold it? I finish for her. You're right, he didn't. Because it was never his to sell. Xander opens his briefcase, removing a thick folder. I have copies for everyone interested in the property's history, including the transfer of ownership to Leah upon her grandmother's passing 12 years ago. 12 years? Bodhi's voice cracks. But that means, when we moved in, when you suggested we live with your mother to save money? I turn to face him. Yes, Bodhi, you moved your entire family into my house, and I let you, because I thought maybe if I was accommodating enough, generous enough, your family would finally accept me. The room erupts in chaos. Through it all, I hear Karen's shrill voice. She's lying. She has to be lying. But I'm not done. Not even close. Because I just heard something through the open window that makes this moment even sweeter. The sound of moving trucks pulling up outside. "Oh," I say, raising my voice above the din. "Did I mention the new owners want to take possession immediately? Tamara isn't a fan of waiting." The look of pure horror on Karen's face makes 12 years of patience worth every second. The moving crew files in with practiced efficiency, their presence adding a surreal quality to the chaos. Karen clutches her champagne glass like a weapon, while Sloane frantically dials someone on her phone, probably their family lawyer. "You can't do this," Bodhi says, his voice trembling. "We have rights as tenants." Xander steps forward, pulling another document from his briefcase. "Actually, you don't. You've never paid rent, never signed a lease, and there's no formal agreement. Legally, you're guests who've overstayed their welcome." I slip away from the commotion, walking through rooms that hold more bitter memories than sweet ones. In the kitchen, I find the drawer where Karen keeps her precious family photos. Right on top is the wedding portrait she had professionally done, just Bodhi and his family. I was conveniently excluded. Looking for something specific? I turn to find Sloane in the doorway, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the frame. "Just remembering," I say, closing the drawer. "Like that time you told everyone at Christmas dinner that I'd tried to seduce your husband." She flushes. "That was a misunderstanding?" I pull out my phone, playing a recording. Her voice fills the kitchen. "Just tell everyone she came onto you, Jack. Mum wants her gone, and this could be our chance." Sloane's face goes white. "You recorded me?" "I recorded everything." I move past her toward the study. "After the third time your mother accidentally ruined my client presentations, I learned to keep receipts. The study door is locked, but I still have my key. Inside, Karen's prized antique desk dominates the room. This is where she held her weekly family meetings I was never invited to attend. As I'm opening drawers, Peyton appears in the doorway. "The movers want to know which furniture stays and which goes." "Everything with a blue sticker is mine," I say, finally finding what I'm looking for, a thick manila envelope hidden in the false bottom of the top drawer. "The rest belongs to the Stouts. They have 24 hours to remove it." 24 hours? Karen's voice screeches from behind Peyton. "You can't just throw us out on the street, like you tried to do to me last month." I turn, holding up the envelope. "When you forged my signature on divorce papers and tried to force me out before the proceedings were final." Karen's face goes from red to purple. "Those papers were perfectly legal." "They were fraudulent," Xander says, appearing beside her. "And we have proof. Would you like to discuss potential criminal charges now, or should we handle that separately?" From downstairs comes the sound of breaking glass, followed by shouting. We rush to the landing to find Bodhi facing off with one of the movers, a shattered vase between them. "That's a family heirloom," he yells. "You can't just—" "It's my grandmother's Waterford," I interrupt. "The one Karen claimed was a Stout family piece, when she allocated it to her room." The party guests are starting to leave, slipping out with embarrassed murmurs and averted eyes. Only Raphael remains, looking lost among the moving boxes. "I found this," he says quietly, holding out a photo album. "It's from your first year here." I take it, flipping through pages of happier times. Before Karen convinced Bodhi I was beneath their social standing. Before Sloane started her whisper campaign about my suspicious inability to conceive. "I should have said something," Raphael continues. "When they started, when I knew they were systematically trying to destroy my marriage and self-worth." I close the album. "Yes, you should have." A loud crash from upstairs makes everyone jump. We rush up to find Sloane in my old office, frantically searching through drawers. "Looking for this?" I hold up the envelope from earlier. "Your mother's letter to Bodhi? The one where she outlines her entire plan to save him from his unfortunate marriage by introducing him to her friend's daughter." Sloane freezes. Bodhi steps forward. "What letter?" "The one explaining how I was just a placeholder until someone more suitable came along." I hand him the envelope, dated 3 months after our wedding. He opens it with shaking hands, his face growing paler as he reads. Karen appears in the doorway, for once speechless. "The movers will work around you," I say, turning to leave. "But everything needs to be out by this time tomorrow. Anything left behind will be considered abandoned property." Leah, Bodhi calls after me, his voice breaking. I didn't know about the letter, about any of it. I pause at the top of the stairs, thinking of all the times he chose not to know, chose not to see. That's the problem, Bodhi. You never wanted to know. The sound of the movers continues below, dismantling the carefully constructed facade of the past 12 years. And for the first time since this all began, I feel something unexpected. Not satisfaction, not even anger. I feel free. The next few hours pass in a blur of moving boxes and shattered illusions. I sit on the front porch swing, the one Bodhi claimed his grandfather built, but I have the receipt from the craftsman who actually made it, watching the Stouts world implode. We need to talk about the shop, Xander says, settling beside me with a manila folder. Not yet, I reply, watching Karen direct the movers with increasingly desperate commands. Let them process this first. Time isn't on our side here, he insists. The mortgage. What mortgage? Sloane appears, her mascara smeared. What are you talking about? I share a look with Xander before standing. Maybe we should discuss this inside. The living room is half empty now, moving boxes stacked where family photos once hung. Karen is there, clutching a crystal decanter like it might save her. The boutique, I say simply. Your mother's pride and joy. Karen's grip on the decanter tightens. What about my shop? Remember 3 years ago when you needed an emergency loan? I pull out my phone, scrolling through emails. The bank required a co-signer? The colour drains from her face. You wouldn't. I already have. I nod to Xander, who produces more paperwork. When you forged my signature on those divorce papers, you violated the terms of the loan agreement. The bank is calling it in. But that's impossible. Karen's voice rises to a shriek. I never asked you to co-sign anything. No, Bodhi says quietly from the doorway. You asked me. And I forged Leah's signature because you said it was just a formality, that you'd have the money in a month. The decanter slips from Karen's hands, joining the growing collection of broken crystal on the floor. Bodhi, she whispers, how could you? How could I? He laughs, harsh and hollow. I've been doing things like that for years, Mother. Covering your spending, hiding your schemes. I just never thought... He looks at me. I never thought it would cost me everything. Peyton appears with fresh coffee, handing me a cup. The movers found something interesting in the attic, she says. Looks like financial records. Those are private. Karen lunges for the box Peyton indicates, but Xander steps in smoothly. Actually, as co-signer on the business loan, Leah has every right to review these documents. I flip through the files, each page revealing new layers of deception. You've been embezzling from your own business, I say, looking up at Karen. Using my credit as guarantee for loans you never intended to repay. It wasn't like that, she protests weakly. Then what was it like? I spread the papers on the half-packed dining room table. Because it looks like you've been running a Ponzi scheme with your investors' money. Does the name Margaret ring a bell? The widow you convinced to put her life savings into your expansion project? Sloane sinks into a chair, her perfect facade crumbling. Mother, you promised that money went to the new location. It did, Karen insists. Most of it, anyway. The rest was just... borrowed. For what? Bodhi demands. The country club membership? The spa weekends? The designer wardrobe you said came from your business profits? A heavy silence falls, broken only by the sound of movers in other rooms. I can still fix this, Karen says, but her voice has lost its usual authority. I just need time. Time's up, Xander interrupts. The bank is auditing the books first thing Monday morning. Raphael, who's been quietly watching from the corner, finally speaks. What happens now? Now, I say, gathering the documents. You all have 18 hours to remove your belongings from my house. After that, Karen needs to contact her own lawyer about the fraud charges she's facing. You're bluffing, Sloane says, but there's no conviction in her voice. Am I? I hand her a copy of the loan documents. Check the signature dates against your mother's bank records. Everything you need to know is right there. You'll destroy this family, Karen whispers. No, Karen, you did that yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. Bodhi steps forward, his face ashen. Leah, please, whatever Mum did, whatever I did, there has to be another way. For a moment, looking at him, I feel a flicker of the love we once shared. But then I remember all the times he stood silent while his family tore me down, all the lies he helped maintain. There was another way, I say quietly. For 12 years, there were other ways. You all just chose not to take them. The grandfather clock, my grandfather clock, chimes in the hall, marking another hour gone. Outside, the moving trucks continue their work, dismantling the careful illusion the Stouts built their lives around. And in the growing shadows of evening, I watch as karma finally comes to collect its due. Night falls, but nobody sleeps. The movers have gone, leaving behind half-empty rooms and shattered pretenses. Karen paces the kitchen, making frantic phone calls to lawyers who won't answer at this hour. Sloane sits on the stairs, scrolling through her phone, probably searching for some legal loophole to save them. Your mother's investment group is already responding, Peyton says, showing me her tablet. Someone leaked the audit news. That wasn't me, I say, though I know exactly who did. Margaret, the widow Karen swindled, has friends on the board. Bodhi emerges from his study, holding a stack of papers. I found more, he says, voice hollow. Mum's been forging documents for years, not just the loan stuff. I know. I take the papers, adding them to Xander's growing file. She forged my signature on insurance policies, investment accounts, even tried to refinance the house last year. Why didn't you say something sooner? Would you have believed me? He doesn't answer, which is an answer in itself. A crash from upstairs makes us all jump. We rush up to find Karen in my old office, frantically shredding documents. That's enough, Xander says sharply, unplugging the shredder. Those are evidence. Evidence of what? Karen's voice is shrill. A daughter-in-law's vindictive lies? I built this family's reputation. I protected us from people like her. People like me. I step forward. You mean people who actually earned their money, who didn't have to steal from grieving widows to maintain their lifestyle? I did not steal. Margaret sends her regards, I cut in. She's very interested in the audit. So are the other investors. Karen lunges for the papers, but Xander is faster. Mrs. Stout, I strongly advise you to stop. You're only making things worse. Worse? She laughs, high and brittle. My son's gold-digging wife just destroyed everything we've built, and you think it can get worse? Actually, it can. I pull out my phone, showing her the screen. Your investors are calling an emergency meeting tomorrow. They've seen the preliminary numbers. The fight drains from her face. How? Did I mention Margaret's daughter works for the SEC? Sloane appears in the doorway, her own phone clutched tight. Mother, the country club just called. They're suspending our membership pending investigation. The business accounts are frozen too, Bodhi adds quietly. I just checked. Karen sinks into the desk chair, my desk chair, her carefully maintained facade crumbling. You don't understand, she whispers. After Bodhi's father left, I had to maintain appearances. I had to protect our social standing. By stealing, I ask? By destroying anyone who threatened your perfect image? I did what I had to do, including trying to break up my marriage, making me believe I wasn't good enough for your son. You weren't. She stands again, mask slipping completely. You were nothing. A nobody who got lucky with an inheritance. I had to protect Bodhi from... From what? Bodhi interrupts. From someone who actually loved me? Who put up with years of abuse because she thought I was worth it? The silence that follows is deafening. The police will be here in the morning, Xander says into the quiet. I suggest you use this time to pack and contact your lawyer. Police? Sloane's voice shakes. But we're the victims here. She tricked us. No. Raphael speaks up from the hallway. We tricked ourselves. We saw what Aunt Karen was doing to Leah for years. We just didn't want to admit it. Karen turns to Bodhi, reaching for him. Darling, you can't let this happen. Everything I did for you. But Bodhi steps back. No, Mother. You did it for yourself, and now we're all paying for it. Dawn is breaking when Tamara arrives with coffee and pastries. She surveys the chaos with calm eyes. The moving company will return at 9, she says. Everything needs to be out by then. You can't just throw us out, Sloane protests weakly. Actually, We can. Tamara's voice is steel wrapped in silk. And given what we've discovered about your mother's financial dealings, I'd focus less on where you're going and more on finding good criminal defense lawyers. I watch as reality finally settles over the Stouts. Their carefully constructed world of privilege and pretense is collapsing, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Leah, Bodhi tries one last time. Please, we can work something out. But I think of 12 years of subtle cruelty, of calculated humiliation, of a family that saw me as nothing but a threat to their precious status. No, I say quietly. We really can't. The sun rises over my house, truly mine now, as the Stouts begin their exodus, leaving behind broken crystal, shattered illusions, and the weight of 12 years of lies. The morning brings chaos spilling onto the front lawn. Neighbours peek through curtains as the Stouts' carefully curated life is dismantled piece by piece. Karen stands by her Mercedes, barking orders at the movers while simultaneously arguing with someone on her phone. The investors want an emergency meeting today, Xander tells me, watching the scene unfold. They're not waiting until Monday. A sleek black SUV pulls up, and Margaret steps out, the widow Karen swindled. She's elegant in her 60s, radiating quiet fury as she approaches. "Karen," she calls out, "I believe we need to talk." Karen spins around, phone dropping from her hand. "Margaret, I can explain everything." "Explain what? How you used my husband's death benefits to fund your daughter's wedding, or how you forged my signature on those investment documents." Sloane freezes halfway down the front steps, clutching a box of designer shoes. "You did what?" "It wasn't like that," Karen stammers. "The money was invested." "In your personal accounts?" Margaret finishes. "My daughter traced every transfer. Would you like to see the records?" More cars are arriving now. Other investors, board members, people Karen has been deceiving for years. The quiet suburban street transforms into a stage for public humiliation. "This is all your fault!" Karen whirls on me, mascara streaking down her face. "You vindictive little—" "That's enough." Bodhi steps between us, surprising everyone. "Stop blaming Leah for your crimes, Mother." "Crimes?" Karen laughs hysterically. "I was protecting our family, our reputation." "By stealing from your friends?" Margaret asks quietly. "By destroying your son's marriage?" "She was never good enough for him. She had more money than all of us," Bodhi interrupts, "and never once lorded it over anyone. Unlike you, Mother." Sloane drops her box, shoes scattering across the lawn. "What do you mean, more money?" "The trust fund," Raphael says, emerging from the house. "I found the paperwork in Karen's study. Leah's grandmother left her millions, not just the house. She could have bought and sold us 10 times over." The revelation sends ripples through the gathering crowd. Karen sways on her feet, reaching for her car to steady herself. "That's impossible," she whispers. I checked. Under the wrong name," I say. "My grandmother's marriage name, not her family name. You were so convinced I was a gold digger, you never bothered to look deeper." A police cruiser pulls up, followed by 2 serious-looking men in suits. "Mrs. Stout," one calls out. "I'm Detective Morris. We need to ask you some questions about certain financial irregularities." "You can't prove anything," Karen says, but her voice trembles. "Actually," Margaret steps forward, "we can prove everything. Your son's been quite helpful this morning, turning over documents." All eyes turn to Bodhi, who stands pale but resolute. "I'm done covering up your lies, Mother. I'm done losing everything that matters because of your schemes." "Bodhi!" Karen reaches for him, but he steps back. "I'm your mother, and I'm your son, not your accomplice. Not anymore." The detective moves forward with handcuffs as Karen's carefully constructed world crumbles completely. Sloane bursts into tears, mascara joining her mother's in black streaks. "What about the shop?" she sobs. "Our accounts? Our reputation?" "All frozen," Xander says clinically. "Pending investigation." As Karen is led to the police car, she makes one last desperate play. "I'll tell everyone," she shrieks, "about how you trapped my son, how you manipulated us all." I step forward, voice carrying across the lawn. "Tell them what, Karen? That I let you live in my house for 12 years? That I covered your bounce checks? That I kept quiet while you stole from your friends and tried to destroy my marriage? The gathered crowd murmurs, and I see realization dawn in their eyes. These people, Karen's precious social circle, are finally seeing the truth. The country club will hear about this. It's her last desperate shot. They already have, Margaret says coldly. The board met this morning. Your membership is permanently revoked. As the police car pulls away, Bodhi turns to me. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I'm sorry. For everything. You're right, I say quietly. It doesn't make up for anything. The movers continue their work as the crowd slowly disperses. Sloane sits on the front steps, surrounded by scattered designer shoes, looking lost. Raphael helps the movers in silence, while Bodhi stands in the driveway, watching his family's reputation dissolve in the morning sun. Peyton appears at my side. You okay? I watch as 12 years of lies and manipulation finally face the light of day. I don't know, I answer honestly, but I think I will be. The morning wears on, and with each box removed, each piece of furniture loaded into trucks, I feel the weight of the past growing lighter. But as I catch Bodhi's broken expression, I realize that victory doesn't always taste as sweet as we expect. By late afternoon, the house is almost empty. Bodhi finds me in the kitchen, where I'm watching the last of Karen's precious crystal being packed away. Can we talk? He asks, looking more dishevelled than I've ever seen him. Please, I nod, following him to the back porch, the same porch where he proposed 12 years ago. The swing still creaks the same way. I found this, he says, pulling out a worn envelope. It's from our first anniversary. Inside is a card I'd written him, full of hope and promises. Before Karen's manipulation took root, before everything soured. I was happy then, he says quietly. We were happy. Until your mother convinced you I wasn't good enough. I should have stood up to her. He runs a hand through his hair. Should have seen what she was doing to you, to us. A commotion from the front yard interrupts us. Sloane's voice rises in hysteria. What do you mean my cards are declined? We round the house to find her arguing with the moving company supervisor. Listen, lady, he says, we need payment now, or these trucks aren't moving. This is ridiculous. Sloane pulls out another credit card. Try this one. All your accounts are frozen, Xander reminds her, appearing with another stack of documents. That includes credit cards. Then how are we supposed to move our things? She demands. They're not all your things, I say quietly. The artwork in the dining room? Those are my grandmother's pieces. The antique desk Karen claimed was a family heirloom? I have the purchase receipt. Sloane's face crumples. Where are we supposed to go? Raphael offered to help, Bodhi tells her. He has space in his guest house. A guest house? She laughs bitterly. We had a mansion this morning. No, I correct her. You had my house this morning. There's a difference. Peyton approaches with her tablet. You might want to see this. The local news website is already running the story. Prominent socialite arrested for investment fraud? Below are photos of Karen being led to the police car, along with details about the scheme she'd been running through her boutique. Mother's going to jail, isn't she? Sloane whispers. The evidence is pretty clear, Xander says. The SEC doesn't mess around with fraud cases. Bodhi sinks onto the front steps. All those times she said she needed my signature for business expenses. I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't want to see it. None of us did, Raphael adds, carrying out another box. We all bought into Aunt Karen's perfect world. Speak for yourself, Peyton mutters. The moving supervisor clears his throat. About the payment. I pull out my credit card. I'll cover it. Leah, no, Bodhi protests. You don't have to. Actually, I do. I hand over my card. Because, unlike your mother, I know the difference between revenge and cruelty. As the movers resume their work, Tamara arrives with her interior designer. They walk through the house, discussing renovations, while the Stouts watch their life being packed into trucks. I found this, Raphael says, holding out a photo album. It's from before. Everything. The photos show happier times, holidays, dinners, moments when the facade of family felt real, before Karen's machinations poisoned everything. Keep it, I tell him. Someone should remember the good parts. Sloane approaches hesitantly. I'm sorry. About the infertility rumours. About everything. Are you sorry it happened or sorry you got caught? She doesn't answer, which tells me everything I need to know. The sun is setting when the last truck is loaded. Bodhi stands in the driveway, keys in hand. I really loved you, he says softly, before I let Mum convince me that status mattered more than happiness. I know, I reply. That's what makes it all worse. He nods, understanding finally reflecting in his eyes. For what it's worth, you were always too good for us, not the other way around. As the trucks pull away, carrying the remnants of the stout's carefully constructed life, I feel no triumph, just a quiet certainty that karma, when it comes, doesn't always bring satisfaction. Sometimes it just brings truth. Peyton touches my arm. You okay? Ask me tomorrow, I say, watching Bodhi's car disappear around the corner. Inside, the house feels different, emptier, but somehow lighter. The weight of 12 years of lies and pretense is gone, leaving only echoes and possibilities. Tamara finds me in the kitchen, where Karen's crystal cabinet stands empty. Ready to make this place yours again? I look around at the space that was mine all along, thinking of all the changes to come. Yes, I say finally. I think I am. But as night falls and silence settles over the empty rooms, I wonder if winning feels this hollow for everyone, or if some victories are meant to taste like goodbye. The morning newspaper lands on my doorstep with a dull thud. The headline reads, "Local boutique owner pleads guilty to investment fraud." Below is Karen's mugshot, her perfect makeup and unpracticed smile replaced by stark reality. My phone buzzes with a text from Raphael. Aunt Karen took a plea deal. 5 years. Sloane's not handling it well. Are any of them? I type back. No, but maybe that's not a bad thing. I'm sipping coffee on the porch when a familiar car pulls up. Margaret steps out carrying a small box. I thought you might want these back, she says, setting it down. Inside are photos and documents, evidence of Karen's schemes that the prosecutors no longer need. How are the other investors? I ask. Recovering. The forensic accountants found most of the money. Karen wasn't as clever as she thought. Margaret sits beside me. Though I suspect you knew that all along. I had my suspicions, but proving it took patience and courage. She smiles sadly. My late husband always said karma works on its own schedule. A moving truck appears at the end of the street, not taking things away this time, but bringing them back. My grandmother's antique furniture, stored safely all these years, finally returning home. Peyton arrives as the movers unload. Did you see the country club newsletter? They're doing damage control, trying to distance themselves from the whole scandal. The mighty stouts, I muse. Not so mighty anymore. Speaking of which, Peyton nods toward an approaching figure. It's Bodhi, looking uncomfortable in casual clothes instead of his usual designer suits. Can we talk? He asks. Inside, the house is transforming. Gone are Karen's oppressive dark curtains and stuffy furniture arrangements. Light streams through clean windows, touching spaces that haven't seen sun in years. I'm selling the condo, Bodhi says, following me to the kitchen. Moving out of state, actually. Taking a job offer in Seattle. Running away. Starting over. He traces a finger along the counter. Something I should have done years ago. And Sloane? Living with Raphael for now. She's struggling. Reality isn't what she thought it was. I pour him coffee out of habit, then catch myself. Some patterns die hard. I found this, he says, pulling out an old envelope. From our first date. You wrote down all your dreams on a napkin. I remember that night. How young we were, how full of possibilities. Before Karen's poison, before status and appearances became everything. You achieved them all, he continues. The design firm, the charity work, even that community art program you wanted to start, while I just existed in my mother's shadow. You chose that shadow, I remind him. I know. That's why I'm leaving. I need to find out who I am without it. The doorbell rings. It's Tamara with paint samples and renovation plans. Real changes for a fresh start. I should go, Bodhi says, standing. Belaya. Thank you. For what? for showing me the truth, even if I didn't want to see it. After he leaves, Peyton helps me sort through boxes, separating past from present. We find old Christmas cards, wedding photos, memories of a family that never really existed except in Karen's carefully crafted illusion. Raphael says Karen's already planning her comeback, Peyton mentions, even from jail. Some people never learn, and some people teach the best lessons. She holds up a magazine, the latest issue of Design Weekly, featuring my firm's newest project. Speaking of which, the article mentions the scandal, but focuses more on my work, my vision. No longer Bodie Stout's wife, but Leah, the designer who turned adversity into art. As evening approaches, Margaret and Tamara help me arrange my grandmother's furniture, pieces that tell my real family story. The house feels different now, lighter somehow, like it can breathe again. You know, Tamara says, adjusting a painting, revenge wasn't really your goal, was it? No, I admit. I just wanted the truth to come out. Everything else was Karma's doing. A car slows down outside, Karen's old friends, probably hoping to glimpse some drama. But all they see is a home being restored, a life being reclaimed. My phone buzzes one last time. A message from Raphael. Sloane asked about you today. Actually said she understands now. Maybe that's a start. I stand in my doorway, watching the sunset paint my porch in shades of possibility. The revenge I thought I wanted has transformed into something else. Liberation. Not just from the Stouts, but from the weight of pretense, from the exhaustion of being less than I am. The house creaks softly, settling into its new reality. And finally, so do I.
I stared at my phone, fingers trembling, as I scrolled through the Instagram photos. There they all were. Mom, Scarlett, Dad, and Solomon, my ex, sitting around a beautifully set table at Vincenzo's, raising their glasses in a toast to my father's 60th birthday. A birthday dinner I hadn't even known was happening. My name is Nicole, and I just discovered I'm the only member of my family who wasn't invited to celebrate my own father's milestone birthday. Just a casual last-minute thing, sweetie, Mom's text read, coming in suspiciously fast after I'd viewed her story. You know how these impromptu gatherings go. Impromptu. Right. I zoomed in on the wine bottle in the background, a 2015 Brunello di Montalcino, the exact wine I'd helped Dad pick out 3 weeks ago when he called asking for recommendations for a special occasion. Everything okay? My best friend Cora's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. We were supposed to be having our weekly coffee catch-up, but I barely touched my latte. They invited Solomon, I managed, turning my phone to show her, to Dad's birthday dinner. Solomon, but not me. Cora's eyes widened as she took in the photos. That manipulative piece of... Wait, isn't that the restaurant your dad specifically asked about last month? Yep. I let out a hollow laugh. The one where I spent an hour researching their wine list for him. Guess now I know why. My phone buzzed again. Scarlett posting more photos. There she was, perfect as always, arm wrapped around Solomon's shoulders like he hadn't ghosted me after borrowing thousands of dollars. Like he hadn't spent our entire relationship convincing me I was lucky he even looked my way. Have you called your dad? Cora asked gently. What's the point? He'll just say Mom and Scarlett handled the guest list. He always stays out of it. I took a shaky breath. You know what the worst part is? This isn't even surprising. It's just confirmation. Of what? That I've always been the outsider, the one they include when it's convenient, exclude when it's not. I scrolled to another photo, Mom beaming at Solomon as he apparently told some hilarious story. Remember when I tried to tell them about the money he owed me? Mom said I was being dramatic. Scarlett said I probably misunderstood the arrangement. Cora reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Nicole, this is beyond messed up. You need to say something. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. Great wine recommendation, sweetheart. Really made the evening special. Something inside me snapped. The careful wall I'd built around years of dismissal and gaslighting crumbled. I thought about the folder in my email, the one labeled Solomon Legal, the one containing every manipulative message, every broken promise, every admission of debt. The one I'd kept, telling myself I was just being cautious. You know what? I said, straightening up. I think Dad's about to learn exactly how special his evening was. What are you thinking? Cora leaned forward, concern mixing with curiosity in her expression. Solomon's not at that dinner just to reminisce, I said, pieces clicking into place. He's there to pitch Dad on investing in something. Has to be. It's his pattern. Charm his way into money, then disappear when it's time to pay up. How do you know? I pulled up my email on my phone, finding the folder I hadn't opened in months. Because he told me himself, right here, I'll pay you back as soon as I secure my next investment. Oh, that was 8 months ago. Want to bet that's exactly what he's after now? Oh my God, Cora whispered, reading over my shoulder. You kept everything? Every email, every text, every bank transfer. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They thought they could just exclude me, like always, that I'd sit quietly with the hurt, like always. I looked up at Cora, but they forgot something important. What's that? I'm not that person anymore. I picked up my phone, opening a new email. And I have receipts. Cora watched me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Do it. But Nicole, be ready. This isn't just going to hurt them. It's going to change everything. I thought about all the family dinners I'd sat through, swallowing my words. All the time Scarlett had talked over me, Mom had dismissed me, Dad had looked away. I thought about Solomon's smug face in those photos, knowing exactly what he was doing. Good, I said, and started typing. Back home, I sat cross-legged on my couch, laptop open, surrounded by the ghostly blue light of my screen. It was past midnight, but sleep wasn't an option. Not when I finally had purpose burning through my veins. Okay, Solomon, I muttered, opening the folder I'd labeled as my personal Pandora's box. Let's see what kind of story these tell. My phone lit up. Cora checking in. You sure about this? Never been more sure, I texted back. Already found some gems. The first email was from exactly 9 months ago. Solomon's desperate plea after I'd threatened legal action. Baby, please. You know I'm good for it. This new venture is going to be huge. I just need time to secure the right investors. Don't do anything rash. I screen grabbed it, creating a new document. The next email was even better. The $50K was always meant to be an investment, not a loan. You're making this weird by demanding repayment terms. My bitter laugh echoed in my empty apartment. Funny how it wasn't weird when he was begging for the money, swearing he'd pay me back with interest. Another message notification popped up. Scarlett this time. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won out. You're being really childish by ignoring Mom's texts. It was just dinner. Stop making everything about you. I added her message to my growing file. Context matters after all. My phone rang, startling me. Dad's name lit up the screen. Hey, sweetheart, he said when I answered. His voice had that slight slur that came with expensive wine. Just wanted to thank you again for the wine recommendation. Really impressed everyone. Everyone including Solomon? The words slipped out before I could stop them. A long pause. Ah, you saw the photos. Hard to miss them once they're all over Instagram. Nicole, he sighed. You know how your mother gets about these things. Solomon just happened to be in town and... Save it, Dad. I pulled up another email from Solomon, dated just 2 weeks ago. Quick question. Did he happen to mention a new tech venture? Something about revolutionary AI integration? The silence on the other end was deafening. How did you... Because I have the same pitch in my inbox from 8 months ago, right after he ghosted me with $50K of my money. I kept my voice steady. But I'm sure he's changed. I'm sure this time it's totally legitimate. Nicole, This is business. It's not personal. Really? Because excluding your daughter from your birthday dinner while inviting her fraudulent ex feels pretty personal. Another pause. What do you mean fraudulent? I smiled despite myself. Check your email in the morning, Dad. I think you'll find some interesting reading material. What are you? Good night, Dad. Happy birthday. I hung up and returned to my laptop. Opening Solomon's investor deck, forwarded to me by a friend in tech months ago, I found exactly what I expected. There, under risk assessment, was a single line that made my blood boil. Previous venture faced opposition from disgruntled former partner. Personal relationship, no legal merit. That's what I was to him. A footnote. A risk to be dismissed. My phone buzzed again. A text from Solomon himself. Heard you talk to Greg. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. We can work something out. I added his message to the file, then opened my email. The subject line was simple. What you need to know before tomorrow's investment meeting. Into the body I wrote, Dad, I've attached documentation of Solomon's pattern of financial manipulation, including bank statements, communication records, and evidence of similar behavior with other investors. I'm not sending this out of spite, but because I can't watch him do to you what he did to me. Love, Nicole. My cursor hovered over the send button. This would change everything, not just with Solomon, but with my entire family. Mom would be furious. Scarlett would never forgive me for ruining her perfect dinner's aftermath. Another Instagram notification popped up. Scarlett had posted yet another photo from dinner, captioned, "Nothing better than family time with the people who really matter." I clicked send. Immediately, my phone lit up with a call from Solomon. I declined it, watching as 3 more calls came in rapid succession. Then a text. You have no idea what you've just done. Actually, I whispered to my empty apartment, I know exactly what I've done. I closed my laptop, suddenly exhausted but lighter somehow. Tomorrow would bring chaos, but for tonight, I'd done what I should have done months ago. I'd chosen truth over peace, action over acceptance. I'd chosen myself. Sleep didn't come easy. I tossed and turned, checking my phone every few minutes. By 6 a.m., I gave up and made coffee, watching the sunrise paint my kitchen walls pink while notifications started rolling in. First, a missed call from Mom at 5:47 a.m. No voicemail. Then Scarlett, answer your phone right now. 3 more calls from Solomon, all declined. At 7:13, the email I'd been waiting for arrived. From Dad, we'll talk, thank you. 2 words that made my hands shake so hard, I nearly dropped my phone. Not the explosion I'd expected, not the dismissal I'd feared. Just, we'll talk, thank you. Cora called while I was still staring at those words. You doing okay? She asked. Your sister's been posting some pretty intense stuff. I pulled up Instagram. Scarlett had shared a series of cryptic stories. Some people will do anything for attention, followed by family means loyalty, and finally, the truth always comes out. She's not wrong about that last one, I said, surprising myself with a laugh. Nicole, Cora hesitated. Solomon's been calling me too, trying to get me to tell him where you live. My blood ran cold. What? Don't worry, I told him to get lost, but maybe stay at my place for a few days. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from Dad. I have to take this, I told Cora. I'll call you back, I answered, heart pounding. Dad? The meeting's in an hour, he said without preamble. His voice was tight, controlled. I've already forwarded everything to Virgil. Virgil, Dad's friend and business advisor for 20 years. My stomach clenched. What did he say? He said I should thank you. Dad's voice cracked slightly. And that I should have asked more questions when you first mentioned problems with Solomon. Dad, No, let me finish. Your mother, she's been in contact with Solomon for months. Did you know that? The betrayal hit like a physical blow. No, she thought she was helping, said you were just bitter about the breakup, that Solomon had changed. He took a shaky breath. I should have seen it. Should have asked why they were so insistent about that dinner. A text from Solomon flashed across my screen. Last chance to fix this. Dad, whatever he's offering you, it's not real. None of it is. I know that now. Papers rustled in the background. The investment meeting is just a formality. I'm not giving him a cent. But Nicole, this is going to get messy. Your mother's already talking about family loyalty, about how you've betrayed everyone's trust. I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet for the sake of family loyalty. All the times I'd swallowed my truth to keep peace. Then let it get messy, I said. I'm done pretending. Good. The pride in his voice was something I hadn't heard in years. That's my girl. After we hung up, I finally listened to the voicemail Solomon had left at 3 a.m. You think you're so clever, don't you? Sending all that private correspondence, breaking confidence? I've got lawyers too, sweetheart, and they're going to tear you apart. You want to play dirty? Let's play. I forwarded the voicemail to Dad and Virgil, then called Cora back. I'm coming to get you, she said immediately. Pack a bag. You're staying with me. I can't hide from this. It's not hiding, it's being smart. Solomon's unhinged, your mom's on the warpath, and your sister's rallying her entire Instagram following against you. Take a breath. Let the dust settle. My phone pinged with a message from Virgil. Smart girl. Keep documenting everything. We've got your back. Another Instagram notification. Mom had finally broken her social media silence with a photo from last night's dinner, carefully cropped to show just her and Dad. Family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. Some truths shouldn't be told. I clicked through to the comments. Scarlett had already responded. Some people mistake revenge for righteousness. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, tempted to respond. Instead, I took a screenshot and added it to my growing file of documentation. Okay, I told Cora. I'll pack a bag, but I'm not running away. I'm just regrouping. That's my girl. I'll be there in 20. And Nicole? Yeah? I'm proud of you. This took guts. After hanging up, I looked around my apartment, at the life I'd built despite Solomon's betrayal, despite my family's dismissal. On my bookshelf sat a photo from years ago. Me, Mom, Dad, and Scarlett at the beach, all smiling. It felt like looking at strangers. I packed the photo too, a reminder of what I was fighting for, not the fantasy of what we were, but the truth of what we'd become. My phone buzzed one final time. Dad again. Meeting starting. Stand strong. I was pacing Cora's living room when Dad's call finally came. 3 hours had passed since the investment meeting was supposed to start. It's done, he said, sounding exhausted. And it was ugly. What happened? Solomon lost it. Completely lost it. Started yelling about betrayal, about how you'd violated his privacy. Then Virgil pulled up the SEC investigation. The what? I sank onto Cora's couch. Turns out we weren't the only ones looking into his business practices. When Virgil mentioned it, Solomon just snapped. Started threatening everyone. Security had to escort him out. My hands were shaking. Dad, I'm so sorry. Don't be. But Nicole? He took a deep breath. Your mother and sister were waiting in the lobby. They'd come to support Solomon. The betrayal felt like ice in my veins. Of course they did. It got worse. Your mother. She admitted she's been helping Solomon set this up for months. Said she was trying to fix things between you two. That's why they arranged the dinner. Fix things? I laughed bitterly. By ambushing you with an investment pitch from my fraudulent ex? I confronted them both. It didn't go well. My phone buzzed with an incoming text. Scarlett, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything. Mom's crying. Dad's not speaking to any of us, and Solomon's life is ruined, all because you couldn't handle being left out one time. Nicole? Dad's voice brought me back. Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Just got a lovely message from Scarlett. She's angry, they both are. Your mother's saying I betrayed her by believing you over Solomon. Another text came through. From Mom this time. This was not your place. Some things should stay in the family. Funny how I'm only family when it's convenient, I said, forwarding the messages to Virgil as he'd instructed. I need some time, Dad said quietly, to think, to process. I've moved into the lake house for a while. Dad, no, listen. I'm proud of you for speaking up, but I need to figure out how I missed so much, how I let them. He trailed off. Just stay safe, okay? Solomon was saying some things. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. Speaking of which, I think his lawyers are calling now. Don't answer. Let them leave a message. And Nicole, I love you. Those 3 words, so rare from my father, made my eyes sting. After we hung up, I checked my voicemail. A clipped professional voice. Ms. Mason, this is regarding a cease and desist order and pending lawsuit for defamation and intentional interference with business relationships. Please have your lawyer contact our office immediately. Cora emerged from her kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. That bad? Solomon's suing me. Mom and Scarlett showed up to support him against Dad. And apparently there's an SEC investigation I knew nothing about. About that, Cora pulled out her laptop. Remember my friend who works in tech investment? She just sent me this. She turned the screen to show me a financial news website. The headline made my heart stop. Tech startup under investigation for fraudulent investment practices. Multiple victims coming forward. Holy shit, I whispered. Your email to your dad? It wasn't just about saving him. You might have helped expose something much bigger. My phone kept buzzing with notifications. Scarlett was on a posting spree. Stories, posts, comments all painting me as the villain, Solomon as the victim, herself as the loyal sister standing by truth and family. Mom had joined in too. A mother's heart breaks when children choose vengeance over love. They're really going all in on this narrative, aren't they? Cora said, reading over my shoulder. They always do. It's easier than facing the truth. A new email popped up from Virgil. Stay strong. Keep everything they send you. Your father's lawyer will be in touch tomorrow. Don't engage with anyone until then. I closed my social media apps and turned off notifications. The weight of everything, the lawsuit, the family chaos, the SEC investigation, pressed down on me. Hey, Cora said softly, handing me the wine. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel so awful? Because doing the right thing sometimes means breaking what was wrong, and that always hurts. I took a long sip of wine, thinking about Solomon's threats, Mom's cold dismissal, Scarlett's rage, about Dad, alone at the lake house, finally seeing the truth. You know what the worst part is? I said. Part of me still wishes they'd just invited me to dinner. Cora squeezed my hand. I know, but they didn't. And now everyone has to live with the consequences. 3 days at Cora's turned into a week. I worked remotely, designed logos for clients, and watched as Scarlett systematically rewrote our family history on social media. Just look at this, I said, showing Cora my phone over breakfast. She's posted a throwback photo from 2 years ago. Me, her, and Solomon at Christmas. Her caption, some people can't handle seeing others happy. Jealousy destroys families. The comments are brutal, Cora noted, scrolling through the responses. How many followers does she have now? Up 10,000 since this started. She's turning it into content. I laughed hollowly. Mom's helping, of course. Every passive-aggressive quote about forgiveness gets shared to her story. My phone rang. Dad's lawyer, Margaret. Good news, she said when I answered. Solomon's lawsuit is basically dead in the water. Everything you shared was documented communication, and his threats since then have only strengthened our position. What about the SEC thing? That's bigger than we initially thought. Multiple investors have come forward. Your father's evidence was just the tip of the iceberg. A notification popped up. Scarlett had posted again. The truth about my sister's vendetta against Solomon. Full story in my next post. They're really committed to this narrative, I told Margaret, that I'm just jealous and vindictive. Let them talk. Every post, every comment, it's all documentation. Speaking of which, your father wanted me to tell you he's filing for divorce. The words hit like a physical blow. What? The dinner was apparently the last straw. Finding out your mother orchestrated it all hid Solomon's true intentions. He's done. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence until Cora brought me coffee. You okay? My parents are getting divorced. Because of me. No, Cora said firmly. Because your mom chose Solomon over her own family. Because she's been lying and manipulating everyone. My phone buzzed. Scarlett's promise expose had dropped. A carefully curated carousel of photos and screenshots painting me as unstable, jealous, vindictive. The final slide was a screenshot of a text I'd supposedly sent Solomon. I'll destroy you if it's the last thing I do. That's fake, I said, staring at the doctored message. She's actually creating fake evidence. Screenshot it, Cora advised. Send it to Margaret. Before I could, another notification appeared. A message from someone I hadn't heard from in months. Lisa, Solomon's ex-business partner. I saw what's happening, she wrote. I have proof he did the same thing to me. Would you like it? My hands shook as I replied, yes. Minutes later, my inbox filled with documents. Bank statements, contracts, emails. The same pattern, the same promises, the same threats when she tried to expose him. I forwarded everything to Margaret, then opened Instagram. Scarlett had posted again. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. My sister showed us her true colors. The irony was almost funny. My phone rang. Dad, you saw? I asked. I saw. Your mother's defending her, saying Scarlett's just protecting family. He sounded tired. I'm selling the house. Dad, I can't stay there. Not after everything. The lake house feels more like home now anyway. He paused. How are you holding up? Oh, you know, just watching my sister turn me into a social media villain while Mom cheers her on. Living the dream. Nicole. His voice softened. Come visit me this weekend. Just us. No drama. No phones. We can fish off the dock like when you were little. The invitation, so simple, so genuine, made my throat tight. I'd like that. After we hung up, I checked my email one last time. A message from Virgil. SEC wants to talk to you, formally. Your evidence combined with Lisa's, this is becoming a major case. Cora read over my shoulder. Still think you should have just stayed quiet? I thought about Mom and Scarlett, so desperate to maintain their perfect narrative that they'd destroy anyone who threatened it. About Solomon, whose house of cards was finally falling. About Dad, finding peace in his solitude. You know what's funny, I said. They thought excluding me from dinner was the punishment, but it was the wake-up call I needed. My phone lit up with another notification. Someone had tagged me in a comment on Scarlett's post. Where's your sister's side of the story? Why are we only hearing your version? I watched as more comments appeared, questioning the narrative, asking for proof. The tide was turning, slowly but surely. Truth, I said, putting my phone down, doesn't need an Instagram filter. Cora smiled. Now that should be your next post. No, I said, thinking of the lake house, of fishing, with Dad. I think I'm done performing for their audience. The lake house looked exactly as I remembered. Weathered blue shutters, creaky screen door, and the old wooden dock stretching into calm waters. Dad was waiting on the porch with 2 cups of coffee when I pulled up. "You remembered the fishing gear?" he asked as I climbed the steps. "In the trunk, along with those disgusting cheese crackers you love." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Up close, I could see how tired he looked, how much older than just a few weeks ago. "We need to talk," he said, handing me a coffee, "about everything I missed." We settled into the ancient Adirondack chairs facing the lake. The morning sun painted everything gold, almost like nothing had changed. "When did it start?" he asked. "With Solomon, I mean." "The money?" I took a sip of coffee. "Or the manipulation?" "Both." I told him everything. How Solomon had slowly isolated me from friends. How he'd convinced me his financial troubles were temporary. How the loan had started as $5,000 and somehow became $50,000. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I tried, Dad. Remember that dinner last Christmas when I mentioned Solomon owing me money? Mom said I was being dramatic. Scarlett said I was just bitter about the breakup. I hesitated. "I changed the subject," he finished quietly, "like I always did." A fish jumped in the lake, breaking the surface with a quiet splash. "I let them steamroll you," he continued, "for years. It was easier than dealing with your mother's intensity, with Scarlett's drama." He set his coffee down. "I failed you." "Dad." "No, let me finish. When I saw those emails you sent, saw the evidence of what he'd done, I realized I hadn't just failed to protect you. I'd helped them hurt you." My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably another notification from Scarlett's ongoing social media campaign. I ignored it. "You know what's weird?" I said. "If they just invited me to that dinner, none of this would have happened. Solomon would have gotten his investment. Mom would have gotten her perfect family facade, and I would have kept quiet, like always. And I would have lost everything," Dad added. "The investment, yes, but more than that. My chance to finally see the truth." My phone buzzed again. This time, Dad pulled his out too. "Ah," he said, "your mother's lawyers finally filed the divorce response. How bad?" "She wants the house, half my business interests, and—" He laughed without humor. "She's claiming emotional distress from how I turned our daughter against the family." That's rich, coming from someone who invited my fraudulent ex to your birthday dinner. Speaking of Solomon, Dad pulled up an email on his phone. "Virgil sent this morning. The SEC investigation is going public next week. Multiple charges of investment fraud, wire fraud, securities violations. They're calling it a Ponzi scheme. Have you told Mom? She's not speaking to me, but Scarlett—" He showed me her latest Instagram story, a photo of her hugging Solomon, caption reading, "Standing by good people in bad times. The truth will prevail." "The truth already is prevailing," I said, "just not their version of it." Dad stood up suddenly. "Let's go fishing. All this." He waved at our phones. "It can wait. I want to hear about your life. The real stuff, not the drama. Your work, your dreams, everything I missed while I was playing peacekeeper." We spent the next few hours on the dock, fishing poles in hand, talking about everything and nothing. Dad told me about his plans to retire completely, to make the lake house his permanent home. I told him about my graphic design business, about the children's book I'd been secretly illustrating. "You know what I remember?" he said as the sun climbed higher. "You used to sit out here for hours, drawing the birds. Your mother said you were wasting time, that you should focus on practical things like Scarlett did. I should have defended you then. You're defending me now. Too little, too late?" "No," I said, thinking of all the alternate versions of this story, the one where I stayed quiet, the one where I gave in to their narrative, the one where nothing ever changed. "I think it's right on time." My phone buzzed again, a message from Margaret. "Solomon's lawyers want to discuss a settlement. They know what's coming with the SEC. How do you want to proceed?" I showed Dad the message. "Your call," he said, "but whatever you decide, I'm with you this time. All the way. I looked out at the lake, at the future stretching out before us, messy and real and true. Tell them no deal, I said. Some things are worth more than money. Dad squeezed my shoulder. That's my girl. The SEC announcement hit like a tsunami. I watched from Cora's couch as Solomon's face appeared on every local news channel. The words multi-million-dollar investment fraud scrolling beneath his perfectly composed expression. Turn it up, Cora said, bringing in fresh coffee. Serial entrepreneur Solomon Davis faces multiple federal charges in what investigators are calling an elaborate Ponzi scheme targeting private investors, the anchor announced. Sources say the investigation was accelerated by evidence provided by former associates. My phone exploded with notifications. Scarlett had gone silent on Instagram for the first time in weeks. Mom, however, had not. Family stands together in crisis, her post read. The media doesn't know the whole story. But I do, I muttered, opening my email to find a message from Lisa. They're interviewing me tomorrow. You? Thursday, I typed back. How are you holding up? Better than Solomon. Did you see he's been dropped by his lawyers? Before I could respond, Dad called. You watching the news? He asked. Yeah. How's the fallout? Your mother's hysterical. Keeps saying we've ruined her standing in the community. Scarlett. He paused. Scarlett finally knows the truth. What do you mean? Virgil showed her the complete file. Everything. Including emails between Solomon and your mother from months ago, planning how to get me to invest. Turns out your mother reconnected with him right after your breakup. She's been grooming this situation for a while. The betrayal felt fresh all over again. Why? Money. Status. She thought having Solomon in the family, successful, connected Solomon, would give her the social standing she's always wanted. She never believed your warnings because she didn't want to. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Solomon. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything I built. I forwarded it to Margaret without responding. Nicole? Dad's voice brought me back. There's something else. Scarlett's here. What? At the lake house. She wants to talk to you. My heart pounded. Put her on. A moment of rustling. Then my sister's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. Hey, She took a shaky breath. I was wrong about everything. Mom showed me selected parts of messages, told me Solomon was the victim. I believed her because it was easier than admitting what we did to you. Scarlett? No, let me finish. I was horrible. The dinner, the social media campaign, all of it. I chose the pretty lie over my own sister. And now, she choked up, now Mom's still defending him, even with all the evidence. She's lost in her own reality, and I finally see it. I closed my eyes, feeling tears threaten. It's not just about the dinner. I know. It's years of us dismissing you, excluding you, making you feel crazy for telling the truth. I'm so sorry, Nicole. I know it's not enough, but I'm sorry. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with breaking news. Solomon Davis, arrested on federal charges, multiple victims come forward. Are you seeing this? Scarlett asked. Yeah. Mom's still at his lawyer's office trying to help his defense. She laughed bitterly. She really can't let go of her perfect narrative. Some people can't handle reality when it threatens their carefully constructed world, I said. I couldn't either, but I'm trying now. She paused. Can we talk in person? Maybe at that coffee shop you like? I thought about all the times I'd extended olive branches, all the times I'd been hurt. But I also thought about Dad, finally standing up for me, about truth, finally breaking through. Okay, I said. Tomorrow morning? Thank you, she whispered. After we hung up, Cora looked at me questioningly. You sure about this? No, I admitted, but I'm not doing it for her, or for Mom, or even for family harmony. I'm doing it because I want to know who my sister is when she's not playing a role in mom's perfect family fantasy. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Margaret. Solomon's taking a plea deal. Your testimony won't be needed. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not really. It was just beginning. The messy, honest work of rebuilding relationships on truth instead of pretense. Of learning who we all were without the masks we'd worn for so long. Hey, Cora said softly. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. I looked at the news coverage, at Solomon's mugshot, at Mom's desperate social media posts, at Scarlett's silence, at the whole tangled web of lies finally exposed to sunlight. You know what's funny, I said. They thought uninviting me to dinner would put me in my place. Instead, it gave me the courage to finally find my voice. Cora raised her coffee cup. To uninvited daughters who refused to stay quiet. I clinked my cup against hers. To truth in all its messy glory. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Maple Coffee House as I waited for Scarlett. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Solomon Davis pleads guilty, and tech investment scheme claims multiple victims. The bell above the door chimed. Scarlett walked in without her usual perfect makeup and Instagram-ready outfit. She looked younger somehow, more like the sister I remembered from childhood. I ordered your usual, I said as she sat down. Oat milk latte, extra shot. You remembered. She wrapped her hands around the mug. I just came from Mom's. How is she? Still in denial. She's convinced Solomon was framed, that you manipulated everyone. Scarlett stared into her coffee. She wanted me to help her start a fundraiser for his legal fees. And I said no. For the first time in my life, I told her no. She looked up at me. She didn't take it well. I can imagine. The thing is, Nicole, Scarlett's voice cracked. Watching her spiral, seeing how she twists reality to fit her narrative, it made me realize I was becoming just like her. The social media campaigns, the fake screenshots, the constant performance of perfection. It's exhausting, isn't it? God, yes. She pulled out her phone, showing me her Instagram profile. I deleted everything. All the posts about you, about Solomon, about our perfect family. It felt freeing. My own phone lit up with a text from Dad. Moving trucks at the house today. Your mother's leaving. I showed it to Scarlett. Good, she said firmly. Maybe without her influence, we can... She hesitated. We can try to be real sisters again, if you want. The barista brought our pastries, chocolate croissants, another childhood favorite we used to share. It won't be easy, I said. There's a lot of hurt. I know, but I'm willing to do the work. Real work, not just pretty Instagram apologies. My phone buzzed again. Virgil this time. Settlement papers ready for review. Solomon's assets frozen. You'll get your money back. The funny thing is, I said, putting my phone down, the money doesn't even matter anymore. What matters is that the truth finally came out. Truth, Scarlett repeated thoughtfully. Remember when we were kids and we'd hide under the dock at the lake house? Just us, telling secrets? Before Mom decided secrets were better kept buried. Before I learned to perform instead of live. Scarlett broke the croissant in half, offering me a piece like we used to. Dad invited me to stay at the lake house for a while. Said he's turning the old boathouse into an art studio. For his retirement? For you. He said it's time you had space to create without judgment. Something warm bloomed in my chest. Really? He's trying. We both are. Scarlett pulled an envelope from her bag, which is why I brought this. Inside was a stack of papers, printouts of every false social media post she'd made about me, every manipulated screenshot, every lie. I'm going to post a public retraction, she said, the whole truth. About Solomon, about Mom, about how we treated you. No filters, no performance. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Not for likes or followers or Mom's approval. For us. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Mom. I hope you're satisfied with the family you've destroyed. Scarlett saw it too. She'll never change, will she? Probably not. But we can. To change, Scarlett raised her coffee cup, and to second chances. Later that evening, as I packed boxes for my temporary move to the lake house, Cora helped me sort through old photos. Look at this, she said, holding up a picture from the dock. 2 little girls with gap-toothed smiles, holding up a fish nearly as big as they were. Before the performance, I said, before the perfect family facade. And now, I showed her Scarlett's latest post, a simple, unfiltered photo of our coffee cups and broken croissant. Starting over, starting real, the truth about my sister. Think it'll last? Cora asked. I thought about Dad's art studio, about Scarlett's deleted posts, about Mom's crumbling fantasy world, about truth finally breaking free. I think, I said, packing the old doc photo carefully, we're finally ready to write our own story. No filters needed. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in honest colors, not perfect, but beautiful in their chaos. Just like truth, just like family, just like healing. I picked up my phone and texted Scarlett. Dad's making his famous terrible chili at the lake house tomorrow. Want to help me tell him how awful it is? Her response came quickly. Only if we can hide under the dock after. I have more truths to tell. This time, when I smiled, it reached all the way to my heart.
The notification pinged while I was scraping ancient wallpaper off the living room walls. Another family group chat I wasn't part of. My cousin Addison's engagement party invitation, forwarded by my mother with an apologetic, "Thought you should know, honey. I'm Maria, and for the past 3 years, I've poured every spare minute and dollar into renovating my family's worst property. A crumbling duplex that my Aunt Karen swore would be mine once I proved myself. Some women collect shoes or designer bags. I collected contractor quotes and building permits, dreaming of the day this dump would become my stepping stone to independence. Maria?" My mother's voice echoed through the empty rooms. I hadn't heard her come in. "You're here again? It's Sunday." Someone has to be. I wiped sweat from my forehead, probably smearing wallpaper paste everywhere. The wiring in the East unit is finally up to code. No thanks to Uncle Caleb's creative interpretations of electrical safety. Mom picked her way through the debris, looking uncomfortable in her church clothes. Karen called. She wants to know if you'll be at Addison's engagement party next weekend, at the country club. Funny how Aunt Karen can ask you about me but can't add me to the group chat. I attacked another stubborn strip of wallpaper. Or call me directly, or acknowledge that I'm fixing her mistake of a property for practically free. She's traditional. You know how she is about unmarried women with careers, about nieces who don't know their place. The wallpaper tore with a satisfying rip. Yeah, Mom, I know exactly how she is. My phone buzzed again. A text from Cody, my ex. "Inspection tomorrow at 2. Don't forget to clear the permit papers." "Is that Cody?" Mom brightened. "He was such a nice boy. Maybe if you—" "Mom." I set down my scraper. "Cody's just helping me navigate the inspection process, and I'm not interested in being set up. I'm interested in finishing this place and finally having something that's mine." She sighed, running her finger along a freshly painted windowsill. "It's looking beautiful. You've done amazing work here." "Thanks." I managed a smile. 3 years of nights and weekends, every bonus from the architecture firm. Worth it though, right? Once the paperwork goes through, Mom's hesitation was barely noticeable, but it sent a chill down my spine. "Right?" "Of course, honey." She fumbled with her purse. "Karen's she has plans. For everyone. You know how she likes to arrange things. Before I could press further, her phone chimed. That's your father. Church committee meeting. She hurried toward the door, then paused. The engagement party. Please come. For me. Addison's asking for you. I thought of my cousin Addison. Perfect Addison, with her perfect fiancé Jack, and her perfect life that aligned so neatly with Aunt Karen's vision of how young women should be. Fine, I'll be there. After Mom left, I stood in the silence of my almost finished project. Every surface held memories of exhaustion and triumph. The kitchen I'd redesigned at midnight after 12-hour workdays, the bathroom tiles I'd laid myself, YouTube tutorials playing on my phone, the foundation issues I'd documented and fixed, despite Uncle Caleb insisting they weren't real problems. My phone lit up with another group chat notification, this one showing Addison's smiling face at some pre-engagement brunch I hadn't been invited to. Karen's comment below, "Can't wait to give our special girl her special surprise." Something twisted in my stomach. I called Cody. "Hey." His familiar voice was warm. "About tomorrow's inspection." "Cody, does Karen ever talk to you? About the duplex?" A pause. "You know I can't discuss. Please. Something feels wrong." He sighed. "Maria, just keep all your documentation, okay? Everything you've spent, every improvement you've made, every conversation about promises." The twist in my stomach turned to ice. "You know something." "I can't say more. But Maria, whatever happens, remember I'm still your friend. And I know how city property complaints work, if you ever need to know." I hung up and stared at my reflection in the newly installed windows. 3 years of work, my life savings. All those subtle digs from Karen about how ambitious I was, how I needed to learn my place. The engagement party invitation glowed on my phone screen. Something was coming. I could feel it in every bone of my body, in every wall I'd rebuilt with my own hands. I picked up my scraper and attacked the wallpaper with renewed fury. Whatever Karen was planning, she was about to learn exactly how ambitious I could be. The country club ballroom sparkled with fairy lights and champagne flutes. I tugged at my cocktail dress, feeling like an imposter among the pearls and pastels of my extended family. Addison floated through the crowd in designer white, Jack trailing behind her like a well-trained puppy. "Maria!" Addison squealed, air kissing my cheek. "You came, and you're wearing black." "Congratulations," I managed, forcing a smile. "The duplex is almost ready, just waiting on the final inspection sign-off." "Oh, that old thing?" She giggled, exchanging glances with Jack. "You've been so dedicated, almost like it's your own—" "Addison," Aunt Karen's voice cut through the chatter. "Darling, it's time for the announcements." I retreated to the bar, where my mother stood nursing a gin and tonic. "You okay?" she whispered. Fine. I wasn't. Just wondering why I'm here when nobody wanted me on the guest list. "Ladies and gentlemen," Karen clinked her glass, commanding attention like the queen she thought she was. "We're here to celebrate not just an engagement, but a legacy." My Uncle Caleb appeared beside her, beaming. The room hushed. "Our precious Addison," Karen continued, "is embarking on a beautiful journey with Jack. And as her mother, I wanted to give them something special, something that represents our family's values of hard work and tradition." My heart stopped. Thanks to the incredible renovations recently completed, Karen's eyes swept past me like I was invisible. "I'm thrilled to announce that Caleb and I are gifting our newly restored duplex property to the happy couple." The room erupted in applause. I couldn't breathe. What a wonderful investment property for their future. Karen raised her glass. The perfect start for a proper family. Addison squealed, hugging her mother. Jack grinned, probably already calculating the rental income. I felt my mother's hand grip my arm. "Maria," she whispered, "don't..." I yanked away, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. Behind me, I heard murmurs. Isn't that the niece who... Well, she never was the settling down type. Too focused on her career. Maria! Karen's voice stopped me at the door. Leaving so soon? Without congratulating your cousin? I turned slowly. Karen stood there, perfectly coiffed, radiating false concern. How long? My voice was barely steady. How long were you planning this? Planning? She smiled sweetly. I'm simply ensuring family property goes to someone who'll use it properly. For a family. Not some independent living experiment. I spent 3 years being very ambitious. She patted my cheek. Too ambitious, really. Women like you never know when to stop pushing, when to let others take the lead. I put everything I had into that building, and we're very grateful for your enthusiasm. Her smile hardened. But really, dear, what were you going to do with a whole duplex? Live alone? Run a business? That's not what we do. The room spun. 3 years of memories flashed through my mind. The illegal wiring I'd discovered and fixed. The foundation problems Uncle Caleb had hidden. The dozens of code violations I'd carefully documented before correcting. You're right, Aunt Karen. I smiled, matching her sweetness. I am ambitious, and you have no idea how much. I walked out, my heels clicking on marble floors. Outside, I leaned against my car, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. Cody? Remember when you mentioned knowing about city property complaints? Maria. He sounded worried. What happened? They gave it to Addison. All of it. Every bit of work, every dollar I spent. They're turning it into her wedding present. Silence. Then, come over. Bring your documentation. All of it. Why? Because I've seen your uncle's original permits, and I know exactly what they tried to cover up before you started renovating. If someone were to report those violations... I thought of Karen's smug face, of 3 years of my life stolen, of being called too ambitious, like it was a crime. Text me your address, I said. And Cody? Thank you. As I drove away from the country club, I caught a glimpse of the celebration in my rearview mirror. They thought they'd put me in my place. Instead, they'd just shown me exactly where to aim. Karen wanted to talk about family values? Fine. Let's see how she valued her perfect gift when the city condemned it. I smiled, remembering every shortcut, every violation I'd discovered and documented. Sometimes the most ambitious thing a woman can do is burn it all down. Cody's apartment was exactly what you'd expect from a city inspector. Organized chaos of building codes and permit applications. He cleared takeout containers from his coffee table while I spread out my documentation. Start with the foundation, he said, handing me a beer. That's where your uncle really screwed up. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. See these cracks? Uncle Caleb filled them with foam sealant instead of proper repairs. I fixed most of it, but the original violation is still there. Jesus, Cody leaned closer. That's not just a violation. That's criminal negligence. One bad storm and the whole east wing could collapse. I took a long drink. There's more. The wiring in the walls, they used aluminum instead of copper to save money. Mixed the two together in some places. Fire hazard? He grabbed a notepad. Major fire hazard. What else? For 2 hours we catalogued every corner cut, every safety measure ignored. Each revelation made me angrier. I can't believe I covered for them, I said, staring at a photo of mold-infested insulation. I kept fixing their mistakes, thinking they'd appreciate it. Cody touched my hand. Maria, you know once you file this complaint, there's no going back. Your family isn't family. I pulled away. Family doesn't steal 3 years of your life. My phone buzzed. A text from Addison. Having a duplex planning party tomorrow. Bring your renovation notes? Pretty, please? They're not even pretending to be sorry, I muttered. The city takes anonymous complaints seriously, Cody said carefully, especially with photo evidence. But you'll need to remove any proof of your own repairs. Otherwise, I'm liable to. I started sorting photos into 2 piles. God, look at this one. It was a snapshot from last Christmas, me covered in drywall dust, grinning proudly at a newly finished wall. Karen stood in the background, already plotting. You really loved that place, Cody said softly. I loved what it represented. Freedom, independence. I crumpled the photo. Everything Karen hates. Another text buzzed. My mother. Karen's asking for the renovation files. Says she needs them for insurance. Please call me. They're panicking, Cody observed. They know they can't prove the work was done properly. I stood up, pacing. Remember when we first met? You were doing the preliminary inspection, and I was so excited to start renovating. You had plans? He smiled. Big ones. And Karen shot down every single one. Too modern, too independent, too ambitious. I spat the last word. She kept saying, "Trust the family, Maria. Family knows best." My phone rang. Karen's number. I let it go to voicemail. You don't have to do this tonight, Cody said. Take time to think. No. I sat back down, pulling up the city's complaint website. I've thought enough. 3 years of thinking while they planned to steal everything. The complaint form was simple. Address, nature of violation, supporting evidence. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Wait. Cody disappeared into his bedroom, returning with a small box. Before you do this, I found something in the old inspection files. He handed me a yellowed photograph. My breath caught. There I was, maybe 6 years old, sitting on the duplex's front steps. Mom was behind me, younger and happier, while Karen stood at the edge of the frame, already watching, already judging. That was the day they bought the property, I whispered. I remember being so excited. Karen promised I could help design the renovations when I grew up. You did more than help, Cody said. You saved that building, made it something beautiful, and now they're giving it to Addison to destroy. I tucked the photo into my pocket. Well, they can't destroy what the city condemns. I started typing. Address, violations, evidence. My hands shook, but my mind was clear. Maria. Cody's voice was gentle. Last chance to back out. I thought of Karen's smug face at the party, of Addison's fake sympathy, of 3 years watching my dreams get twisted into someone else's gift. They want to talk about family legacy? I hit submit. Let's see how they like this one. The confirmation email arrived instantly. Thank you for your concern. An inspector will investigate within 24 hours. I gathered my documents, leaving behind anything that showed my involvement. At the door, Cody caught my arm. Whatever happens, he said, I've got your back. Thanks. I managed to smile. But after tomorrow, I don't think anyone will have my back, and that's okay. Sometimes being ambitious means being alone. Walking to my car, I touched the old photo in my pocket. Tomorrow, Karen would learn exactly what happened when you underestimated an ambitious woman with nothing left to lose. Dawn found me back at the duplex, using my key one last time. The morning light streamed through windows I'd installed myself, casting long shadows across freshly finished floors. In a few hours, this would all belong to Addison, but right now, it was still mine. My phone buzzed. Addison. Coming over at 10 to measure for curtains. Jack wants to knock down some walls. So excited. Over my dead body, I muttered, heading to the basement. The old filing cabinet creaked open. Inside were the real records of this place, not the sanitized versions Karen kept at her house. I pulled out folder after folder, spreading them across the dusty floor. My phone rang. "Mom." "Where are you?" she asked, without preamble. "Karen's looking for the building records." "I bet she is." I flipped through receipts showing the original cut rate materials. "Tell her I'm busy." "Maria, please. She's talking about lawyers, something about proving ownership." "Good." I found what I was looking for, photos of the original foundation damage. Let her get lawyers involved. I'm sure they'd love to see these. "What are you doing?" "Protecting myself." I hung up. Behind the filing cabinet, a loose floorboard concealed my biggest evidence cache. I pried it up, revealing a waterproof container full of before and after photos. Each one documented a violation I'd fixed, and proved what the building had been like before. Footsteps creaked overhead. "Maria?" Addison's voice. "Your car's outside. Are you here?" Shit. I scrambled to gather the papers. "In the basement," I called up. "Just getting my tools. Can you help me plan the remodel? Jack has amazing ideas." I'm sure he does, I thought, shoving documents into my bag. The basement steps groaned as Addison descended. "Oh my God, it's creepy down here." She wrinkled her nose. "We should totally turn it into a wine cellar." "The foundation." I stopped myself. Let them find out the hard way. "Sure, great idea." "Mom wants the renovation files." Addison peered around. "She said you kept everything?" "Most of it's at my apartment." I kicked the loose floorboard back into place. "I'll bring it later." "Perfect. Jack's bringing his contractor friend tonight. We're thinking of taking out that support beam to open up the space." My stomach lurched. That beam was holding up half the house. "Addison, you can't." "It'll be fine." She bounced on her toes. "Mom says we should make it our own. Speaking of, she wants you to hand over your key, since it's not yours anymore," her tone implied. "Right?" I pulled out my keyring. "Here." She hugged me, all expensive perfume and oblivious privilege. "You're the best." "I know this is weird, but Mom says it's for the best. You're too focused on work anyway." My phone vibrated. A text from Cody. "Inspector assigned. ETA 2 hours." I should go. I shouldered my bag. "Good luck with everything." "Wait," Addison called as I climbed the stairs. "Don't you want to see our plans?" I paused at the top. Sunlight caught the crystal chandelier I'd hung last month, scattering rainbows across walls I'd painted with my own hands. "No," I said quietly. "I don't think I do." Outside, I sat in my car, hands shaking as I sorted through the evidence. Every receipt showing substandard materials, every photo of shortcuts and cover-ups, every email where I'd warned them about problems, only to be ignored. My phone exploded with notifications. Karen. "Where are the files?" "Mum. Please call me." Addison. "The contractor's here early. So exciting." Cody. "Inspector on the way. Last chance to back out." I looked up at the duplex. My duplex. In every way, except legally. Through the window, I could see Addison gesturing excitedly to a man with a clipboard. They were already planning to destroy everything I'd built. Slowly, deliberately, I opened my laptop. The city's property complaint portal was still up from last night. I began uploading photos. The rotting support beams hidden behind fresh paint. The electrical violations lurking in the walls. The foundation problems waiting to collapse. My finger hovered over the submit button. One last text from Mom. "Whatever you're planning, be sure." I was sure. I'd never been more sure of anything in my life. I hit submit. The confirmation email arrived immediately. "Additional evidence received. Inspector en route." I started my car, taking one final look at the duplex. In a few hours, Karen would learn exactly what happened when you pushed an ambitious woman too far. And I had front row seats to watch it all burn. I parked across the street, watching through tinted windows as the city inspector's van pulled up to the duplex. 2 officials in navy uniforms stepped out, carrying clipboards and cameras. Right on schedule. My phone lit up. Cody. It's happening. You sure about this? Before I could respond, Karen's Mercedes screeched into the driveway. She emerged in full battle gear, designer suit, pearls, and that artificial smile she used for authority figures. Addison and Jack tumbled out behind her. Good morning. Karen's voice carried across the street. There must be some mistake. We have no inspections scheduled today. The lead inspector consulted his tablet. Ma'am, we're responding to a priority complaint about multiple code violations. I'm going to need to see all areas of the property. Complaints? Karen's smile flickered. Impossible. We just had it renovated. Nevertheless, he held up a document. We have photographic evidence of serious structural and safety concerns. I rolled down my window slightly, not wanting to miss a word. This is ridiculous. Karen pulled out her phone. I'm calling our lawyer. That's your right, ma'am. The inspector moved toward the door. But we're still conducting our inspection. If you interfere, we'll return with police escort. Addison clutched Jack's arm. Mom, what's happening? The second inspector was already taking photos of the exterior. Ma'am, these foundation cracks. When was the last structural assessment? My brother-in-law handled all that, Karen snapped. Everything's perfectly fine. My phone buzzed again. Mom, Karen's hysterical. What did you do? I watched as the inspectors disappeared inside. Karen paced the driveway, barking into her phone. Addison looked close to tears. 10 minutes later, the lead inspector emerged, face grim. Mom, we've seen enough. This property is being condemned effective immediately. What? Karen's screech echoed down the street. You can't do that! We can, and we are. He started filling out forms. The violations are extensive. Dangerous wiring, compromised foundation, illegal material substitutions. This building is a disaster waiting to happen. But it's my daughter's wedding present. Karen grabbed his arm. Please, there must be something. Step back, Mom. He pulled away. The only thing you can do is hire licensed contractors to bring everything up to code. Until then, no one enters this property. The second inspector started placing bright red condemnation notices on all the doors and windows. Addison burst into tears. Mom, what about our plans? The wine cellar? Jack's office? This is sabotage! Karen whirled around, scanning the street. Someone did this on purpose. Someone who knew about the renovations. I slid lower in my seat as her gaze swept past my car. Jack cleared his throat. Maybe we should postpone the wedding. Until this is sorted. No! Karen and Addison shouted simultaneously. My phone lit up with a call from Uncle Caleb. Ignore. The inspectors finished their work, handing Karen a thick stack of violations. You have 30 days to submit a remediation plan. After that, the city takes possession. I watched Karen's face as she flipped through the pages, saw the moment she recognized some of the photos, the ones she'd ignored when I'd shown her years ago. Maria, she whispered, then louder. Maria! That was my cue to leave. I started my engine. As I pulled away, I caught one last glimpse in my rearview mirror. Karen standing in the driveway, violation notices scattered around her feet, staring at my retreating car with pure hatred. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mom, Karen knows she's threatening police. Addison, how could you do this to me? Uncle Caleb, you've destroyed this family. Cody, need a place to lay low? I drove to the park where I used to sketch building designs as a teenager, sat on a bench and finally let myself feel it all. Satisfaction, guilt, fear, and overwhelming relief. A new text from Karen. You think you've won? I'll make sure you never work in this city again. No one betrays family like this. I thought about the 3 years I'd spent fixing their mistakes, about Karen's smug face at the engagement party, about being called too ambitious, like it was a curse. My reply was simple. Guess I'm ambitious enough to burn bridges too. Enjoy the renovation bills. I blocked her number and leaned back, watching clouds drift overhead. Tomorrow would bring consequences, family fallout, possible legal threats, burned professional bridges. But today I'd shown them exactly what happened when you pushed an ambitious woman too far. And it felt like freedom. The fallout hit faster than I expected. By sunset, my phone was flooded with voicemails from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all suddenly legal experts on property law and family loyalty. I was hiding out at Cody's apartment when Mom called. "Karen's on the warpath," she said without preamble. "She's hired a lawyer. They're looking for proof you sabotaged the property. Good luck with that." I picked at a loose thread on Cody's couch. Everything I reported was their own work, their own violations. Addison's wedding is falling apart. Jack's family is having doubts. Shocking that they doubt a property that can't legally be occupied. "Maria," Mom's voice softened. "I know why you did it, but this is getting ugly. Karen's calling everyone, demanding they choose sides." A text popped up from my cousin Rachel. "Holy shit, you actually did it. Karen's having a meltdown at the country club. Total scene. Dad filmed it." "I have to go," Mum said suddenly. "Karen's here. She wants to search my house for renovation documents." "Let her." I sat up straighter. "She won't find anything." "I know." Mum paused. "Because you were always smarter than she gave you credit for." After we hung up, Cody handed me a beer. "You okay?" "No." I checked my email. 3 wedding vendors had already dropped me from their recommended architect list. Karen worked fast. "But I'm not sorry." My phone rang again. Unknown number. "Maria speaking." "This is David from Metropolitan Contractors." A gruff voice. "Karen Wilkins asked me to look at a property renovation. Says you're familiar with the work?" I sat up straighter. "I am. She wants us to fast-track repairs. Says money's no object." He chuckled. "But between you and me, these violation photos, this is months of work, maybe years." "Really?" I smiled. "How fascinating." "Thing is, she keeps insisting some of these problems don't exist. Says her niece made them up, but I'm looking at the foundation photos right now. The ones showing the foam sealant cover-up?" "Exactly." He paused. "Ma'am, did you take these photos?" "No comment, but I suggest you check the timestamp metadata." After he hung up, Cody raised an eyebrow. "Making friends?" "Karen's about to learn how expensive revenge can be." I checked my messages. "Oh, look. Addison's wedding venue cancelled. Apparently they don't want to be associated with a family property scandal." "Maria," Cody sat beside me. "You know this isn't over, right? Karen won't stop until she finds proof it was you. She can look all she wants." I pulled up the city complaint portal, showing him the anonymous submission. Everything's clean. Legal, above board. My phone buzzed. Uncle Caleb. "Need to talk. Alone. About the wiring." "Don't," Cody warned. I replied, "Nothing to discuss. Ask your contractor about aluminum versus copper." Seconds later, "Please, Karen doesn't know I'm calling. This could ruin us." "Should have thought of that before you cut corners," I muttered, blocking his number. A new email arrived, from Jack's mother. "Wedding postponed indefinitely. Hope you're happy with yourself." I was drafting a reply when someone knocked on Cody's door. We both froze. "Maria," Mum's voice. "I know you're in there. Please." I opened the door. Mom looked exhausted, clutching her purse like armor. "Karen's losing it," she said, stepping inside. She's talking about private investigators, about proving criminal intent. Let her. I crossed my arms. Everything I reported was true. I know. Mom met my eyes. I saw the problems while you were fixing them. I should have said something then. Mom. No, listen. She grabbed my hands. You were right. What they did, what we all did letting it happen, was wrong. But Maria, Karen's not going to stop. She's already called your firm's partners. Of course she has. I laughed bitterly. Can't have an ambitious woman succeeding professionally, can we? She's saying you deliberately sabotaged a family gift. That you... Mom swallowed. That you did substandard work yourself to set them up. My phone lit up with another message. Addison. Mom's hiring a forensic accountant. Hope your records are clean, cousin. I showed Mom the text. See? They still think they can threaten me into submission. What are you going to do? I thought about the documents safely stored in multiple cloud accounts, about timestamps and metadata that proved exactly when each violation occurred, about years of emails warning them about problems they'd ignored. I'm going to let Karen dig, I said quietly, and I'm going to watch her uncover exactly how deep her own negligence goes. Mom squeezed my hand. You really are too ambitious for them. Yes, I smiled. I really am. The family intervention happened on a Sunday because Karen always did love ruining weekends. They ambushed me at Mum's house. Karen, Uncle Caleb, Addison, and a sharp-suited man I assumed was their lawyer. Sit down, Maria. Karen's voice dripped honey-coated venom. We need to talk about what you've done. I remained standing. Nothing to talk about. We have proof. She nodded to the lawyer who opened his briefcase. Your inspection friend Cody? He's been quite helpful. My heart stopped. What? Oh, don't worry. Karen smiled. He didn't mean to be. But his secretary's very chatty, especially about late-night visits from certain ambitious nieces. The lawyer spread photos across the coffee table. Me entering Cody's building, leaving with folders, security camera timestamps. That proves nothing, I said, but my voice wavered. No, Karen pulled out more papers. How about these repair receipts? All in your name. You knew about every violation because you fixed them yourself, then reported them anyway. After you stole my property. Your property? She laughed. You were a contractor. Nothing more. 3 years, I exploded. 3 years of my life, my savings, my work. Which we would have compensated you for. Uncle Caleb spoke up. Eventually. Liar. I turned to him. You knew about the foundation, the wiring. You knew it could kill someone. We can still fix this, Karen interrupted. Drop the complaints. Sign a statement saying you falsified evidence. We'll pay your renovation costs. I stared at her. You think this is about money? Of course it is. She stood, straightening her pearls. Everything's about money. Or did you think your little revenge would actually change anything? Addison sniffled in the corner. Jack's family won't even talk to us now. Good. I faced my cousin. At least they have standards. That's enough. Karen slapped the table. Sign the papers, or we'll sue you for every penny you have. Your career, your reputation, gone. I pulled out my phone, pulling up emails. Funny thing about reputations, Aunt Karen. They work both ways. What are you... Email from 3 years ago. I started reading. Dear Aunt Karen, the foundation damage is severe. Using foam sealant instead of proper repairs is dangerous and illegal. Please approve the contractor quote. Your response, stop being dramatic. Handle it yourself. The lawyer frowned. Karen's face reddened. Or this one, I continued. Uncle Caleb, the aluminum wiring is a fire hazard. We need licensed electricians. His response, too expensive. Just cover it up. Those are private, Uncle Caleb started. They're evidence. I met Karen's eyes. Every violation, Every cover-up, every time you chose profit over safety, all documented, all time-stamped, all backed up to multiple clouds. You wouldn't dare. Karen's voice shook. Try me. I turned to the lawyer. By the way, did they mention the asbestos they found in 2019? The inspection report they buried? I have that too. The lawyer closed his briefcase. Mrs. Wilkins, we should discuss this privately. No! Karen grabbed his arm. She's bluffing. My phone buzzed. A text from Jack. Wedding's officially cancelled. Thanks for saving me from this family. I showed it to Addison. She burst into tears and ran out. You've destroyed everything, Karen whispered. No. I walked to the door. You did that yourself. I just exposed it. Maria. Uncle Caleb stepped forward. Please, the repairs will bankrupt us. Should have thought of that before you cut corners. I paused in the doorway. Oh, and Karen? The city inspector's report goes public tomorrow. Might want to warn your country club friends. Outside, Mom was waiting on the porch. I heard everything, she said quietly. Taking Karen's side? No. She hugged me. Taking yours. Finally. My phone lit up with notifications as family members chose sides. Some supported me. Most didn't. I blocked them all. A final text from Karen. You'll regret this. Family is everything. I typed back. No, integrity is everything. But you wouldn't know about that. Later that night, Cody called. They came to my office, he said. I'm sorry about the security footage. Not your fault. I watched the sunset from my apartment. They were always going to find something. What now? I thought about Karen's face when I mentioned the public report, about Uncle Caleb's fear of bankruptcy, about Addison's cancelled wedding. Now, I smiled. Now I watch them deal with the consequences of their own actions, for once in their lives. You really are too ambitious for them, Cody said. Yes. I raised a glass to the setting sun, and I'm finally proud of that. The condemned duplex stood empty, a monument to karma wrapped in yellow tape and red notices. I parked across the street, watching contractors come and go with increasingly grim expressions. Each one left shaking their head, clutching estimates that made Karen's perfect world crumble a little more. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Karen's selling her house to pay for repairs. Moving in with Addison. I smiled, remembering Karen's smug face when she'd announced the gift. Karma really was a patient teacher. Another buzz. An email from a development firm I'd never heard of. Regarding your renovation portfolio. Before I could open it, a familiar Mercedes pulled up to the duplex. Karen stepped out, looking decidedly less polished than usual. She spotted my car and marched over, heels clicking on pavement. I rolled down my window. Need something? You win. Her voice cracked. Is that what you want to hear? You've ruined us. No, your shortcuts and lies ruined you. I just exposed them. The contractors say it'll take a year. She gripped my car door. $500,000 minimum. Our savings, my house, Caleb's retirement. Sounds expensive. I checked my phone. Almost like doing it right the first time would have been cheaper. You could help. Her grip tightened. Your knowledge, your connections. I laughed. Now you want my ambition? I was wrong, okay? Tears smeared her mascara. You were right about everything. The foundation, the wiring. We should have listened. But you didn't. I met her eyes. Because ambitious women don't know their place, right? She flinched. My phone buzzed again. The development firm. Your renovation documentation impressed us? Would you consider consulting on our historic restoration project? Maria, please. Karen's voice softened. We're still family. No. I put my phone down. Family doesn't steal dreams. Family doesn't punish ambition. Family doesn't force women into tiny boxes and call it tradition. I'm sorry. Save it. I I started my engine. The city inspector's coming back tomorrow. Better hope they don't find anything new. As I pulled away, I saw Addison approach her mother. They stood together, watching their perfect gift crumble under the weight of exposed lies. At home, I opened the development firm's email fully. They'd seen my documentation of the duplex violations. Apparently, thorough records impressed people who actually cared about quality work. They wanted to meet. My doorbell rang. Mum stood there with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "Thought you might need this." She stepped inside. "Karen's selling her jewelry collection." "Good." I poured the wine. "Maybe she'll learn something about value. Addison's looking at apartments." Mum settled on my couch. "The wedding's definitely off. Jack's family sent back all the gifts." "And Uncle Caleb?" "Taking early retirement, mandatory after the city found more violations in his other properties." I showed her the development firm's email. "Look what Karma sent me." She read it, smiling. "A bigger project? More responsibility?" Everything Karen feared. I raised my glass. "Guess I'm still too ambitious." "No." Mom clinked her glass against mine. "You're exactly ambitious enough." My phone lit up with a final text from Karen. "The contractors found more problems. Please, we need your help." I blocked her number and opened my laptop, pulling up the development firm's portfolio. Their historic restoration project looked challenging, complex, and absolutely perfect. Mum peered over my shoulder. "Taking it? Of course." I started drafting my response. "Someone has to show them how ambitious women get things done right. Karen will hate that you're succeeding." "Good." I hit send. Let her watch me rise from the ashes of her perfect plans. Outside my window, the city sparkled with possibility. Somewhere out there, Karen was selling her treasures to fix the mess she'd made. Uncle Caleb was facing the consequences of his shortcuts. Addison was learning that perfect facades crack under pressure. And me? I was exactly where I needed to be, free from their boxes, their expectations, their suffocating traditions. My phone buzzed one last time. The development firm. "Meeting tomorrow? 9 a.m.? I replied immediately. "I'll bring my portfolio and my ambition." Mom raised her glass again. "To Karma?" "No." I smiled, thinking of Karen's crumbling empire, of Uncle Caleb's exposed lies, of Addison's shattered illusions. To ambitious women who refused to stay in their place. We drank to that, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors of change. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about proving them wrong by succeeding on your own terms. And I was just getting started.